Part 11. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 101. Wu Tiankai didn't sleep well for 2 whole days. After all, he has a debt of hundreds of millions, and it is still a personal debt. There is something wrong with him if he can sleep well. From being the chairman of a listed company to this level, if the stocks in his hands are worthless, then he will be worse than a beggar. He hated Li Yuan with all his heart. In order to investigate Li Yuan, he did not hesitate to break the law. Because he always felt that the Jushin media that he could find was just a cover. Unexpectedly, the final result was not as good as that of Jushin media. Zhangzhou University students' parents are from rural areas. Is this the Li Yuan he saw at the shareholders' meeting? Who would believe it? In order to check this information, he used a lot of contacts, and even those people were frightened. This is not the past. Every time a file is transferred internally, a record will be left. If something happens to Li Yuan in the future, the guy who transferred the file will definitely be involved. So, Wu Tiankai paid a huge price to get such a result. He was unwilling to give in, so he began to investigate Zhang Yuan Qiao's personal information. There is no result yet, he is waiting for a call. The mobile phone beside him suddenly rang. When he saw that number, he knew there was a result. Connected. He was full of expectations. Then, there was a scolding voice on the other end of the phone. Wu Tiankai, who did you just ask to check? Wu Tiankai was stunned. This is my old friend. What's going on with this tone? A man named Zhang Yuanqiao, help me find out where he came from. What? What are you going to do after you find out? Why do you still want to retaliate? Wu Tiankai. Old he, please be clear with your nonsense. Our relationship will not be. Who has anything to do with you? Wu Tiankai, I advise you, don't make a mistake. Even when I see him, I have to respectfully call him old leader. If anything goes wrong with him, I will be the first to get you. Wu Tiankai slid down from the chair with a plop. Although the call was hung up, his legs still refused to function. He encountered what a businessman fears most. Offend someone you can't afford to offend. He didn't believe it at first, but as he headed in that direction and checked on the internet, it suddenly became clear. If I had known earlier, I would have told you in person. He has never met the other party, and he always passes the news through an intermediary, which can be regarded as a means of clearing up the relationship. Now he is being targeted. No matter how good a friend is, it is useless. It is nothing more than interests involved. No matter how great the benefits he offers, can someone else's career be important? He still had a list of names in his hand, which were the targets of Shen Tianfu's transaction, but he did not dare to continue checking. He would not inform Shen Tianfu, it would be best if Shen Tianfu fell into this pit. At least he had time to stop now. If Shen Tian failed again, he would have the opportunity to get back Tiankai's shares. Gan. That young man turned out to be the boss's white glove. Sister Ran, someone is inviting us to dinner at noon. You can come with me. You go by yourself. You don't have to pick me up at noon. I'll let Mouse drive to pick me up. Zhou Ran didn't want to have too much contact with Li Yuan's friends. I didn't know I was pregnant before, and I didn't think others would suspect anything. If we contact you now, many people may become suspicious in the future. If you don't follow me, maybe someone will introduce me to a girl. Isn't that what you want? My heart is with Sister Ran. Ah. Zhou Ran got out of the car and entered the driving school directly. Li Yuan may be telling the truth, but this person is not the other person. When Li Yuan turned around and went back, he met the car that took Wen Yuxian away. He pretended not to see it, otherwise it might become the background of some kind of game. Now Wen Yuxian is considered a relatively well-known anchor in the financial section. If she is really playing a Godfather game, she will most likely have a hard time. Soon, he returned to his residence. Start collecting today's materials, and at the same time look for the stocks you want to enter next. With hundreds of millions in hand, we can't delay. The other 220 million from 13 Pacific Insurance should be available in a short while, so Zhou Ranran can just go to the bank and transfer it to him. Excluding the capital of Zhongchen Electronics, there are still more than 900 million. If you want to find a stock and stuff this money into it, you have very little room to choose. The daily turnover must be at least 1 billion, and the total market value must exceed at least 80 billion. There are only more than 20 A shares that meet these conditions. It seems, we are going to enter Wulianjai again. Last time, the United 13 Taibao stole a profit, and then the funds inside had no chance to escape. After nearly a month of consolidation, Li Yuan felt that there was still a chance. The market just opened today, so I can't see anything, but if I go back a few days, it's been shrinking and falling. Shrinkage is a decline in daily trading volume, and many reasons can explain this situation. For example, there are fewer retail investors, there are too many hold-up orders, there are too many squandered funds, etc. Shrinking and falling is not a very good indicator, and most people dare not touch it. Li Yuan doesn't know what's going on inside now, after all, he hasn't paid attention to it for a long time. But after watching the game for a while, he discovered a problem. Someone is doing tea on the plate. Even if the amplitude is only 1 point, there are still funds pulling inside. Seems unwilling? Just 1 or 2 points is not enough for handling fees for large funds. Handling fee? Li Yuan suddenly thought of something. He remembered that there would be a small band market in the second half of the year, which would last until January next year. Then there are the well-known sanctions, which have made A shares bearish for more than a year. In fact, the market situation is not that good, and the market index has only risen by more than 10 points. From an overall perspective, securities companies also need to eat. It has been bearish for 2 years, and the annual trading volume of the entire A share market has dropped to the extreme. Compared with economic growth, the increase in financial markets is not large. Currently, in the first half of the year, the total trading volume of A shares is only 40 trillion. If this momentum continues, all major securities companies will have to take advantage of the Northwest trend this year. Last year, the trading volume for the whole year was only 80 trillion. I have been drinking from the Northwest for a year. Will I still drink this year? Therefore, there are some public funds that will allow brokerage firms to earn enough handling fees through frequent position adjustments. After all, compared to retail investors, the handling fees are actually very low. Stamp duty does not belong to securities companies, but most retail investors can get a contingency fee, and some are even exempted from 50%. For example, Li Yuan's account goes to the extreme and gives 50% off just in case. But fund companies are different. Their handling fees are very high, maybe even as high as 1,000 yuan. The most common one is Wanba. Fund companies have a cooperative relationship with securities companies. Fund companies need securities companies to help them promote fund products, and naturally they will not let securities companies suffer losses in profits. Anyway, the handling fee will eventually be converted into the net value of the day, and the loss is not their money. Then, he opened the market and took a look at the trading volume. The market activity was originally low, but the trading volume has stabilized recently, with more than 600 billion in turnover every day. The average daily turnover in the first half of the year was only 400 billion. Now the market is falling, but the turnover is rising? Thinking of this, Li Yuan began to buy Wulianjai in batches, each with a small amount of money, ranging from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. He plans to test it out tomorrow. The WeChat message next to him suddenly rang, and he picked it up instinctively, thinking it was a message from Ho Jinkyo, talking about money. It turned out to be Ling Linky's. "Boss, I will definitely give you a surprise at noon. Li Yuan. I won't go out at noon. If you want to date me, it's best to go out at night. Hey, you'll know when the time comes." Li Yuan felt that the other party was also a girl with a lively personality, and he could feel it through chatting. Well, he still has a rather sultry personality. Otherwise, who in the right mind would take the initiative to send photos like that to netizens? Even if the face is not shown, even the scale is not too big. But don't forget that she sent it on her own initiative. I don't know if the legs are old and the body is not scary. He checked the group again and found that Ho Jinkyo had already sent the money half an hour ago. It was probably that Joe Ran was practicing driving and didn't tell him. I originally wanted to leave the group directly, so as not to be in it and they would be unhappy chatting with each other. But thinking that Zhang Yuanqiao would treat him to dinner at noon, it would be hard to talk to him if he left the group and waited. Well, finish your meal first and then leave the group. I took a look at the time and saw that it was almost 11:30. The agreed time was 12 o'clock, so it was just in time to rush there. Driving the car, I called Lu Hao. Ask Lu Hao when he will come back and remember to pick up Joe Ran. The reason why he was willing to have dinner with Zhang Yuanqiao this time was really not just for free money. The main reason is that the old man chatted with me for a long time in the middle of the night last night, saying that he already knew about his relationship with Zhang Yuling, had also investigated what happened in the school, and specifically apologized to Zhang Yuling. Being apologized by someone who could be his grandfather, Li Yuan thought it was not that shameful. Therefore, he would definitely come over for this meal. No matter what dissatisfaction he had with Zhang Yuling, at least Zhang Yuanqiao still trusted him. If Zhang Yuanqiao hadn't made a desperate move and spent 200 million to come in, he would have earned 100 million less. The car soon arrived at Jinji. He called Zhang Yuanqiao and found out the box number. Parked the car, immediately got on the elevator and walked inside. Under the guidance of the waiter, he pushed open the door of the private room. He saw Zhang Yuanqiao, who was already sitting next to him and was about to say hello. As a result, a figure suddenly jumped out from behind the door, holding flowers in both hands, and most of his face was covered by the flowers. "Deng deng deng, master, guess who I am?" A bouquet of flowers was delivered to Li Yuan. Li Yuan could tell just by looking at his figure and hairstyle. Even though Zhang Yuling was wearing something different from usual, he was wearing a pure style today. He reached out and pushed aside the flowers in front of him, and then said, "Teacher Zhang, why don't you guess who I am first?" One more chapter, 12 noon. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 102. Chapter 102. I really like you. When Zhang Yuling looked at Li Yuan in front of him, his mind was blank at that moment. The smile quickly faded, and the bouquet he was holding lost its support and fell to the ground. Li Yuan bent down, picked up the flowers, and said, "Is this the surprise that Teacher Zhang wants to give me?" If he fails to connect that this person is Ling Linky, Li Yuan really won't be able to get away with it. Zhang Yuanqiao saw that Zhang Yuling's face had completely collapsed and said quickly, "Li Yuan is here. Do you know my Yuling?" Li Yuan said with a smile, "I know you. Teacher Zhang is my class teacher at Zhangzhou University. We get along very happily." Zhang Yuanqiao was very happy when he saw that Li Yuan didn't expose it. Said, "Our family Yuling admires you very much, and is also the #1 fan of your Douyin account." Li Yuan saw the slump-faced Zhang Yuling beside him, leaned over and asked with a smile, "Really? What's the name of Teacher Jiang's account? I can go back and check it out." After saying that, Li Yuan took out his mobile phone and opened his Douyin account. At this moment, Zhang Yuling could be sure that the master he was licking like a dog during this period was his student. He was still a student who scolded himself in front of the door of the distant building. Did she just try to surprise others with her cute side? Now she just wants to escape from this place where she will die. Only silence is her last courage. Li Yuan came over again, took his Douyin private message, and read it bit by bit. Let me see which one is Teacher Zhang. Since you are my biggest fan, you must have sent me a private message before, right? Zhang Yuling. I go first. She lowered her head and prepared to walk outside. However, Li Yuan directly stretched out his arm, put his arm around Zhang Yuling's shoulders, and said, "Don't worry, let's keep each other in check." After saying that, he leaned directly into Zhang Yuling's ear and whispered, "Teacher Zhang doesn't want the classmates to see those photos, right?" Zhang Yuling suddenly raised his head. This bastard obviously already knows his account number. What do you mean? If you spread my privacy, I will sue you. Ah. Is that a private photo? I'll save it later, zoom in and study it carefully to see where the privacy is. You. She felt numb all over when she thought that Li Yuan wanted to enlarge her photo to every pixel and search for it bit by bit. Zhang Yuanqiao saw the two people whispering, and also saw Li Yuan's hand on Zhang Yuling's shoulder. It doesn't matter if you can't hear what he said. Judging from his actions, Li Yuan means that. To a certain extent, he had never met a young man like Li Yuan. Since the suggestion was made in the group, he investigated Li Yuan thoroughly, including some things that happen in the school. One thing impressed him deeply. He had devoted himself to a girl before, but after suddenly realizing it, he didn't bother to go to the girl and even talk to her properly. Being able to pick it up and put it down is something that many elderly people cannot do. After living most of my life, I will never be so thorough. If there was such a pattern, the group wouldn't be able to quarrel about any topic. On the contrary, the older you get, the more things you can't let go of. At this time, the waiter began to serve the food, and Zhang Yuanqiao said, "Li Yuan, why don't you sit down first? Let's talk while eating? Yuling has a lot to say to you, an idol. After knowing that I know you, please let me." She brought it here. Li Yuan smiled and asked Zhang Yuling, "Mr. Zhang, is that right? You should tell me your identity earlier. I make videos very early every day, so I can send them to you in advance." Zhang Yuling. She now only had one thought: to immediately log out her account, and even her WeChat account. After being carried by Li Yuan to the dining table, she subconsciously wanted to sit further away. However, Li Yuan didn't let go at all. Even Zhang Yuanqiao on the side said, "You young people should sit closer together. You have something to talk about. Yuling, you have met your idol, why don't you take the initiative?" Zhang Yuling wanted to slam the table and leave. "But Grandpa is treating me to dinner today, and this kind of thing is very taboo. Moreover, Li Yuan threatened her with photos." Watching the food arrive, she hesitated and said, "I can't think of what to say for a while. Maybe I'm hungry. Then let's eat first. Anyway, we have plenty of time to communicate today." Li Yuan always had a faint smile on his face. Zhang Yuling is only responsible for eating. Zhang Yuanqiao said, "Li Yuan, our Yuling is also a student. There shouldn't be any generation gap between you two, right?" "No, I'm still honored to have dinner with Teacher Zhang. Don't you know, in our school of finance, all the men regard Teacher Zhang as a goddess. They are happy for a long time if they can even say a word. If I go back to show off, having a meal with Teacher Zhang will make many people envious. Is it that exaggerated?" This is not an exaggeration. According to statistics, 40% of the boys in the School of Finance have confessed their love to Teacher Zhang. "Oh? What about you?" Zhang Yuanqiao looked at Li Yuan meaningfully. Li Yuan said awkwardly, of course I, like you too, but I never had the chance to confess. Zhang Yuanqiao looked at Zhang Yuling, this girl only knows how to eat? I'm usually a picky eater, so why did I change my gender today? Didn't you hear that others have already hinted it so obviously? So he said, Yuling, you should have remembered what questions you want to ask Li Yuan by now, right? I can tell you that if you miss this village, you won't be able to find another store. Zhang Yuling didn't stop and said to himself, not yet, I'll think about it again. Zhang Yuanqiao sighed helplessly, and then said to Li Yuan apologetically, this girl is not very good at talking. Li Yuan, don't worry about it. Let's talk. Okay. Next, the two chatted about some very common topics. Li Yuan was concerned about the old man's health, while Zhang Yuanqiao asked about the current situation of Li Yuan's parents. While chatting, Zhang Yuanqiao said in a low mood, actually, I feel guilty for Yuling. Her parents passed away when she was only a few years old. I have been living with guilt and self-blame every day for these years. I can also feel that my body is getting worse day by day, and I may die one day. At this time, Zhang Yuling raised his head and said, Grandpa, you are still in good health. Zhang Yuanqiao waved his hand, I know my body well, and I have been running for a few years. Your parents will have plenty of time to spend with them after I go down. Then he looked at Li Yuan and said, Li Yuan, can I ask you a favor? You say. It's like this. If I leave one day, the person who will be most worried about it is Yuling. She is actually a very emotional person and a person with a very fragile personality. If I leave and she is alone, I will really don't worry. In the words of you young people, no one knows which will come first, tomorrow or the accident. But I am different. I can already feel that that day is not far away. If Yuling can find someone who can rely on him for the rest of his life, man, I can rest in peace even if I die. When I get down there, I can have an explanation with my son and daughter-in-law. Li Yuan said, with teacher Jiang's conditions, what kind of person can't be found? Don't worry about this. Zhang Yuanqiao, except that Yuling sometimes has a bad character, there is really nothing else to say. However, in this world, people's hearts are sinister. Knowing people and faces but not knowing the heart, who knows what kind of evil thoughts are hidden under a good skin? It's up to you. Fortunately, our family is now considered to have a small income. Fortunately for Turan, even if Yuling chooses the wrong person, there will still be other opportunities. But I am just afraid of making money. If he was trying to make money, he would definitely not stop until Zhang Yuling was deceived and bankrupted. They may even use other means to transfer Zhang Yuling's assets. What do you mean? They say people are divided into groups. If you are so good, I believe the people around you will be good too. Can you introduce someone to my family, Yuling? Okay, do you have any requests? The request, it's actually simple. Look handsome. This is the most basic thing, right? Yeah, that's for sure. If you don't care about my family's meager income, even if you don't have much money, you can still make money if you have the ability. That's how it should be. I also have something in common with Yuling. She majors in finance and also likes stock trading. She is not good at stock trading. It would be better if she has strong stock trading skills. You still need to let me know the basics. It's best if you have dealt with me and I understand the character. Otherwise, you won't feel at ease. 20 years old next year is the best. You should be younger. My Yuling is actually only 24 years old. She is a junior in college. She holds a gold brick. If she is a senior, doesn't it mean holding 2 gold bricks? Isn't it the same as holding a gold brick in her 5th year? That's 3 pieces, it means a good thing. It's best to be 182 centimeters tall. After all, Yiling is 170 centimeters tall. This is the most suitable height difference. Li Yuan. Zhang Yuling. Zhang Yuling suddenly asked, Grandpa, haven't you asked me what size shoes to wear? Zhang Yuanqiao immediately asked Li Yuan, what size shoes do you wear? At this moment, Zhang Yuling finally couldn't bear it anymore. Put the chopsticks on the table, get up and leave. I'm full, you can eat it yourself. She realized something was wrong. His grandfather actually wanted to bring him and Li Yuan together? What a joke. Not to mention that he is 5 years older than Li Yuan, even if they are about the same age, with the conflict between them, nothing can happen in this life. She couldn't stand someone who had scolded her being with her. Zhang Yuanqiao showed an awkward smile to Li Yuan and said, I'm sorry, it's because I haven't been by Yiling's side in these years, and she's a little more willful. Li Yuan shook his head and said, no, Teacher Jiang's unique character is not something ordinary people can have. Oh? Li Yuan, it seems that you have a good sense for Yiling. Of course, Teacher Jiang is the goddess of my dreams. Hearing this, Zhang Yuanqiao suddenly felt relieved. Li Yuan is interested in his granddaughter. The job is already half done. He was not doing it for those guys in the group, he just felt that Li Yuan was reliable and worthy of his trust. He never thought of interfering with Li Yuan's career. Those people in the group have been blinded by the benefits during this period. How can they have the ability to guide others to make money? If so, how about being a leak in the stock market? Then I'll call her over later and you two can talk alone. Okay. Li Yuan agreed simply and neatly. Then let's eat first. After you finish eating, you two can take a walk around the area. Another half hour passed and the two of them finished their meal. Zhang Yuanqiao paid the bill and left first, while Li Yuan was waiting here. In less than 20 minutes, Zhang Yuling appeared in the box, obviously persuaded by Zhang Yuanqiao. As for what was said, Li Yuan didn't have to guess. It must be awakened by emotion and moved by fate. After all, the old man's bargaining chip had already been revealed during the meal. Li Yuan, what kind of ecstasy soup did you pour into my grandpa? I didn't drink any soup, and I didn't even take a sip of wine. I just talked about the problem of having children in the future. The old man is very happy. What? Zhang Yuling was stunned. How did it get involved? Li Yuan asked, what? Isn't this normal? Zhang Yuling almost stuttered, how is this normal? Are the two of us related? Li Yuan said in surprise, the old man told me that you like me very much, but you are a little shy because of face and don't know how to speak. Oh, you are kidding me, right? That's okay, I understand. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he was ready to leave. Zhang Yuling was anxious. My grandfather is watching from outside. And in the past 20 minutes, he cried for 20 minutes and kept confessing, which directly broke her psychological defense. Currently, the old man is standing on the overpass in front of the hotel, saying that if the two of them don't go out together, he will jump off the overpass. In the end, he had to agree to come over and meet Li Yuan. Wait. She was so panicked that she lost her mind. Li Yuan turned around and asked, what are you waiting for? I will go out with you. Li Yuan immediately refused, no, I have no interest in people who play tricks on me. After that, he continued to walk out. Zhang Yuling hurriedly caught up and said, my grandpa is standing on the overpass outside. If I don't go out with you, he will jump off. Oh? What does it have to do with me? Besides, you could lie to me for that kind of thing before. Who knew you weren't trying to trick me again in this matter? I don't have time to play this kind of game with you. Li Yuan was about to leave when Zhang Yuling suddenly stopped in front of him. What I said is true. She's going to die? Li Yuan said calmly, what I said is true. After finishing speaking, he prepared to bypass Zhang Yuling. At this time, Zhang Yuling grabbed his arm. My grandpa didn't lie to you. Her expression was tangled, nervous, and a little panicked. Most likely you rarely lie. You didn't lie to me. Li Yuan looked into Zhang Yuling's eyes, which made her even more panicked, and she quickly avoided it. Zhang Yuling tilted his head and whispered, I really like you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 103. Zhang Yuanqiao stood on the overpass and watched Zhang Yuling holding Li Yuan's arm. The two came out of the restaurant and walked intimately to the shopping mall next to them. He knew that family kidnapping was not a good idea. Zhang Yuling was finally willing to go home, but if he was not careful, he would encounter backlash. But he knew Zhang Yuling's character very well. There were many people chasing her, but she had always lived in her own world and was not willing to accept others at all. Her advantages are obvious, but so are her shortcomings. If she cannot accurately grasp her character, she will definitely not be able to get along with anyone in the future. Li Yuan's performance far exceeded his expectations. Looking at Zhang Yuling's current appearance, even if it was just pretending, he was satisfied. After all, this girl is not willing to pretend in front of everyone. After entering the mall, Zhang Yuling glanced behind him and immediately shook off Li Yuan's arm when he realized that his grandfather had not followed. Li Yuan said, "What? Throw it away after using it? It really suits your style." "Yes, is it possible that I really want to regard you as my boyfriend?" Anyway, the show was done, and she fulfilled her grandfather's wish to the greatest extent, but she didn't want to continue. Li Yuan took out his mobile phone and said into the phone without doing anything, "Old man, did you hear it? It's not that I don't want to." Zhang Yuling. She hurriedly went to take away Li Yuan's cell phone. How could this bastard do such a thing? But Li Yuan was very quick and hung up the phone directly, then said with a smile, "Teacher Zhang, I'm leaving first, bye." "Don't leave." Zhang Yuling caught Li Yuan again. "Did you know you could cause death if you do this?" Li Yuan retorted, "Teacher Zhang, isn't this your own choice? I have already volunteered to play the role of your boyfriend, what else do you want from me? Then why did you call my grandpa? It was his old man who asked me to do this. Shouldn't I listen to my elders?" Zhang Yuling sighed, "Then call him quickly and say I was joking just now." Li Yuan shook his head, "You don't have a mobile phone yourself. No, you come and fight, and when the time comes I promise to perform well." Zhang Yuling didn't dare to fight because her grandfather obviously trusted Li Yuan more. "Please." Zhang Yuling grabbed Li Yuan's arm. Li Yuan had no choice but to take out his mobile phone, dial a number at random, and put the phone to his ear. Zhang Yuling wanted to come closer, but unfortunately Li Yuan turned around and she couldn't hear anything. After a while, I heard Li Yuan say, "Old man, it was Yuling who was joking just now." "Really, you can't even disbelieve me, can you? Don't overthink it. Yuling and I have a very good relationship and we feel very close to each other." "Proof? How can you prove something like this?" "I promise I didn't lie to you." Hey, don't be angry, I swear, okay." Zhang Yuling watched Li Yuan's face become more and more nervous, and she was more nervous than him. Judging from the tone, his grandfather seemed a little excited. Damn. She has no experience dealing with elders at all, and she doesn't know much about her grandfather. She only knew that she would have money in her card every month and would receive some messages from her grandfather, but she would rarely reply. After being scolded by Li Yuan last time, She collapsed emotionally and found that she had no relatives around her. She happened to meet her grandfather asking her about living expenses, so she replied a few words. Then she got out of control. With the company of her family, her whole person's emotions became much richer. Especially the old man's care and concern for her was something she had never felt before. The contact with Li Yuan was the only thing that the old man asked her to do for so many years, and he also used extreme methods, and then she panicked. "Old man, don't be impulsive. I'm going to find you now." Li Yuan's expression suddenly changed. Zhang Yuling felt like his head was going to explode. He quickly ran to Li Yuan and shouted, "Husband, what's wrong with you?" Li Yuan: "Well, husband, give me a hug." Li Yuan saw Zhang Yuling leaning towards him, especially his face on his shoulder. He lowered his head and kissed her. After the kiss, he said to the phone, "Old man, did you hear me? I was just kidding. I have a very good relationship with Yuling. Maybe you will be able to hold your great-grandson by this time next year." Zhang Yuling felt nervous in his heart. Especially when he was just kissed by Li Yuan, his brain almost shut down. She just wanted her grandfather to hear her voice, but she didn't expect that he would actually involve her. Fortunately, what Li Yuan said brought her back to reality and stopped her from thinking about other issues for the time being. "What? Didn't you hear clearly?" After Li Yuan said this, he looked at Zhang Yuling again. Especially when he lowered his head, Zhang Yuling subconsciously covered his mouth. But Li Yuan's eyes immediately became serious and he shook the phone in his hand. "Husband, there are many people here." Zhang Yuling also wanted to make a death struggle. "Well, but it's of no use." She stared at Li Yuan, who was so close, and she could even feel the people nearby staring at the two of them. At this moment, she suddenly discovered that Li Yuan's mobile phone screen lit up. I don't know where it touched. Moreover, except for a desktop on the screen, there was no phone call at all. When Li Yuan seemed to be still unsatisfied with the separation, he said to the phone, "Old man, you can rest assured this time, right?" "Huh? Haven't you heard yet?" Zhang Yuling's hands were already clenched into fists. Silver teeth are about to be broken. Li Yuan covered the phone's microphone and whispered, "Why are you staring at me? Hurry up, I'm acting on a voluntary basis, and I didn't ask you for payment. If you don't cooperate, don't blame me for quitting." After saying that, he was about to hug Zhang Yuling over. However, Zhang Yuling didn't move at all, just staring at him, as if he wanted to eat someone. Li Yuan picked up the phone and said, "Old man, please don't be angry. If you touch her..." Zhang Yuling said in a low voice, "Stop pretending. Is your phone connected?" Li Yuan, "Okay, otherwise how can I talk to your grandfather?" Li Yuan, "I'll kill you." After Zhang Yuling finished speaking, he rushed towards Li Yuan. Li Yuan hurriedly hid back and said into the phone, "Old man, you'd better dance. I can't talk to your granddaughter." Zhang Yuling chased him outside the mall and saw Li Yuan running into the crowd, so he could only stop angrily. Can't catch up. Even if he catches up, he can't beat him. It was a scam from the beginning. Li Yuan never spoke to his grandfather at all. It's just that his acting looks so similar. Asshole. Got kissed twice? She stamped her feet angrily, and finally her feet were numb from the stamping, making her look even more aggrieved. And what she has to face now is that she has to tell her grandfather that they get along well with her when she returns home. Half an hour later, she returned home. "I saw my grandfather wiping the portraits of my parents. This is what he has been doing for 10 years. Every time he sees him like this, Zhang Yuling feels as if something has entered his eyes." After seeing Zhang Yuling come back, Zhang Yuanqiao calmed down his emotions and asked with a smile, "How are you getting along with Li Yuan?" get along pretty well, but there is still a slight age gap. Huh? What did he say? No, 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 it's just that I feel a little. He is young and you take advantage of him. Why are you embarrassed? Are you dissatisfied with him? Zhang Yuanqiao's tone was very gentle. But Zhang Yuling was very confused. Finally, he said, no, I'm just afraid that he will suffer a loss, so, if he doesn't feel that he will suffer a loss, it will be too late for me to be happy. Zhang Yuanqiao smiled, that's good. Li Yuan just called me and said he wanted to go out with you tomorrow. You can send him a message back and agree on a location. I'm good. Zhang Yuling realized that when a lie is born, countless lies must be used to cover it up. But she didn't even think about contacting Li Yuan, and she could fool him every day. I will take some time to go out for a while tomorrow, and when I come back, I will say that I have met Li Yuan. Or maybe it's because Li Yuan didn't come due to something else. In short, she has a lot of patience. That guy Li Yuan did it on purpose. After all, the words he said at the gate of the college last time were a bit unfair to him, and he had been angry all the time. So I took this opportunity to embarrass myself. It won't be long before he feels like he's done with his revenge, and he probably won't have the patience anymore. So, early the next morning, she got up. In order to look good, she also put on a little makeup and changed into fresh style clothes. Most of her clothes are in cool colors, and there are very few warm colored clothes. One set yesterday and one set today, the inventory has been emptied. He even went to say hello to his grandfather, saying that he was going out to meet Li Yuan. In fact, she just went to a coffee shop and sat there for an hour. The main thing is to think about what reasons are better to use after returning. There are currently two excuses. The first one is that we have already met. However, it is very likely that you will be questioned and asked why you did not eat together at noon. His grandfather might even call Li Yuan and ask him to come home. The second one is that Li Yuan was busy with something, and with his grandfather's attitude towards life, he most likely wouldn't call to inquire. Mainly because he was afraid that Li Yuan would call his grandfather. So she had to think of a way to make Li Yuan embarrassed to call. My grandpa said we were progressing too fast, and you were a bit unhappy when we just met you for the first time. She was mentally simulating some excuse. But I feel like those excuses are a bit unreliable. My grandpa hasn't been sleeping well recently. The doctor said he should play with his mobile phone less and answer the phone less. It doesn't seem reliable either. It seemed that after much deliberation, the best way was to get Grandpa's cell phone and block Li Yuan's phone number. Wouldn't this make it impossible to get in? Mr. Li Yuan couldn't be so shameless as to change his phone number and continue calling, right? What if I still have WeChat? The more she thought about it, the more headache she got. For a whole hour, she couldn't come up with a good idea. After all, Li Yuan is really powerful and can lead the old man to earn 300 million. Anyway, few people in the world are willing to give such a big gift to the old man. The old man will definitely not fail to contact Li Yuan. And if he had a complete showdown, the old man's body might not be able to hold on. I feel like I can't wait any longer. Go home first and find a chance to take the old man out to play for a while. By then he will not be in the mood to call Li Yuan. Let's put it off first. Half an hour later, she returned home. I found my grandfather sitting on the sofa, eating snacks. This is very rare. The old man never eats anything except food. It can be seen that he is in a good mood today. And next to it, she also saw some packaging boxes, which seemed to be nutritional products. Are there guests at home? Some distant relatives? After all, the old man doesn't accept gifts from others at all, so he only accepts things from distant relatives. Grandpa, are there guests at home today? Zhang Yuanqiao wondered, you don't know. What do you know? Didn't you buy these things? Zhang Yuling's eyes widened. She just came back. Where to buy these things? At this moment, Li Yuan wiped his hands and walked over from the direction of the back room. After seeing Zhang Yuling, he said with a smile, "My wife is back, has the car been parked?" Zhang Yuling. The next second, Li Yuan sat directly next to her, put his arm around her shoulders, and said, "Didn't you ask me to buy these nutritional supplements? Later, we both had cars, so you asked me to drive back first, and you follow me. If you want to put this credit on me, I can't help but feel sorry for you, so I accept your wishes." After saying that, Li Yuan lay directly on Zhang Yuling's face and kissed him. Zhang Yuling. She felt like her scalp was going to explode. What exactly is going on? No wonder Grandpa didn't ask about the meeting after he came back. I thought about the reason for a long time, but it didn't come in handy. When did you come? She asked. I didn't even wipe the saliva off my face. We've just arrived. Aren't we two in front and behind? You drive a little slower, and I drive faster. Li Yuan added in a low voice, Grandpa likes the things you gave me very much. At this time, Zhang Yuanqiao said, because of me, an old guy, I have delayed your date. You go out quickly. You don't have to accompany me. Just wait until you come back in the evening and have dinner together. Li Yuan said with a smile, Grandpa, what if I can't come back tonight? Well, it doesn't matter if you can't come back. Yuling has an apartment inside the school. Hotels and other things are not very safe. Although Zhang Yuanqiao has an old tradition in his heart. But for young people, it doesn't matter. Seeing that he didn't say anything and was about to be arranged, Zhang Yuling hurriedly said, Grandpa, I want to eat with you at noon. Zhang Yuanqiao hurriedly said, I just want to tell you something. I have to go to your Grandpa Ho's house at noon. We will have many opportunities to eat in the future. Let's have fun with your boyfriend first. No, he's not. Not what? Huh, it's nothing. Then I'll go out with him. After saying that, Zhang Yuling stood up. Li Yuan said hello to the old man and followed behind. At this moment, Zhang Yuling couldn't hide the look in his eyes that he wanted to kill someone. She got directly into Li Yuan's car and said coldly, drive and find a remote place. One of us must die today. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 104. Li Yuan drove the car without caring about Zhang Yuling's mood. When Zhang Yuling went out, he got information from Zhang Yuanqiao. Then he estimated the time when Zhang Yuling would come back, and went to see Zhang Yuanqiao with the things he had prepared in advance. Teacher Zhang, let's go to the school for a walk. No. I just want to fight you to the death. Why? I am also thinking about the old man's health. As the old man's granddaughter, why are you aggrieved? Grief? Is this just grievance? You made up the facts out of thin air, forced me to agree, and swayed my will to achieve your ulterior purpose. Is this a simple grievance? Where did I make it up? Didn't you say you like me yourself? Your grandpa also said you like me. Can you believe what my grandfather said? He just wants to bring us together, and he will definitely say something to facilitate him to achieve his goal. Oh, so you know. Of course I. Zhang Yuling was suddenly stunned. Why is this scene so familiar? She had a few chats with Anna Shen, and Anna Shen mentioned things about Li Yuan to her, and then she believed it. Because Anna Shen is a celebrity at Zhangzhou University and the signature of the School of Finance. Besides, based on her understanding of Anna Shen, how could she possibly frame someone? So why was Li Yuan so angry at that time? Is it the same as myself at this time? She calmed down at this time and turned to look at Li Yuan. You just want me to apologize for that, right? No, Whether someone apologizes or not doesn't have any impact on me. I don't think someone is a good person just because they apologize. Then what are you doing this for? I just want to tell Teacher Zhang that it feels uncomfortable to be wronged. The main reason is that Li Yuan feels that Zhang Yuanqiao really appreciates him. During these 2 days of meeting, I didn't say anything about asking him to do private equity, asking him to continue to be in the group. Unlike Ho Zhenqiao, the private chats in the past 2 days have been devoted to giving him ideas and decisions. He can understand Ho Zhenqiao. If he doesn't do it for himself, he will be destroyed by heaven and earth. Only by doing private equity on your own or continuing to be in the group can you maximize their interests. Li Yuan does not exclude cooperation with them. It's just that the time is not right now and he needs a wider platform. Of course, he also had a good impression of Zhang Yuanqiao and did not refuse this matter that he took the lead in. But it was obvious that he and Zhang Yuling were not suitable. Whenever Zhang Yuling did it for the first time, he felt there was still a chance. Just like what a famous sketch actor said in the Spring Festival Gala, "Ni Ping is the girl of my dreams." Gan. Who doesn't want to marry Zhang Yuling? All the turning points started when Zhang Yuling shook off his arm. Just like stock trading, if the market suddenly changes, he naturally has to take the lead in protecting his own funds to avoid losses. Zhang Yuling was silent for a while. Said, "Sorry." But before Li Yuan could speak, Zhang Yuling continued, "You did this to me, should you apologize?" "What did I do?" "Take advantage of me 3 times. Zhang Yuling stretched out 3 fingers. Li Yuan smiled, "Okay, then I'll let you take advantage of me 3 times. As he spoke, he stopped the car on the side of the road and put his face close to her. Zhang Yuling couldn't resist. He took a deep breath and said, "The school has not fired you. Since you have the ability, you can continue to study. After you graduate, you will have a better future." Yes, graduate students from the School of Finance lose money every day when trading stocks. Zhang Yuling knew that Li Yuan was connoting her, but still said, "You will definitely work in the financial industry in the future, and academic qualifications are a stepping stone. Without this academic qualifications, you may have to work hard for several years to prove yourself." After saying this, Zhang Yuling opened the car door and got out. Li Yuan lowered the car window and asked, "Teacher Zhang, don't you need me to give it to you?" "No, I just have something to do here." "Well, please help hide my grandfather's matter for a few more days. I will take him out for a trip, and he won't care about it when he comes back from the trip." "Okay, I'll see you at school when I get the chance." Li Yuan drove away. Putting aside family ties and looking at some things, everyone can afford to take it up and let it go. As soon as I returned to my residence, the headhunting company called me. "Mr. Li, we have found the person you are looking for. When will you be free? Can we make an appointment?" "I'm free now." "Okay, let's meet at Wanda's Starbucks in half an hour." "Huh? Let's go to Yuanxiang Tea House on Jianghe Road. I'll reserve a seat and you can just go and tell me your name." Li Yuan decided to find another headhunting company if needed again next time. Damn, that's so unprofessional. Because the reward for this order is small, is it so perfunctory? The problem now is that there is no office. The office rented by Jushin Media is too small and has no chance of being put to use. About half an hour later, Li Yuan drove to the tea house. In addition to the lady in her 30s from the headhunting company, there was also a man and a woman. The man is short and fat, always has a smiling expression on his face, and looks to be in his 30s or 40s. The woman seemed a little nervous. She put her hands on her legs and was very embarrassed. She also lowered her head slightly and couldn't see her facial features clearly. "Good body." After he arrived, the girl raised her head. She was wearing glasses, her features were well proportioned, and she was not very old, at most 25 or 6 years old. The person from the headhunting company spoke first and introduced both parties. Li Yuan quickly learned their names. The short and fat man is called Yu Yu, and the girl is called Guo Meng. Yu Yu, 39 years old, has the ability to work as a manager in a large company, and his academic qualifications are also top-notch. He graduated from the Shanghai School of Finance and Economics, but he has no outstanding performance. After working for so many years, he was finally transferred to the society by a large company. Guo Meng, 24 years old, had just graduated 2 years ago and worked as a public fund manager. Like Yu Yu, her academic qualifications are all top-notch, but she is a little better than Yu Yu. She once created a fund that she managed, which fell 60% in 3 months. Since then, she has completely become a social figure in the entire financial circle. Died. No one dares to use such a person. After Li Yuan sat down, he carefully looked at the resumes of both parties. Then he took the lead in extending his hand and shook Yu Yu's hand. "Welcome, Manager Yu, to join our company." Yu Yu was flattered and quickly stood up and said, "Thank you, Mr. Li, for your trust." At his age, if he hadn't had several years of working experience in a large company, he would have no chance of finding a job in the current market situation, let alone an annual salary of 1 million. Guo Meng is getting more and more nervous. She actually just wants to find a financial company to do odd jobs, and she will be satisfied with 10,000 or 20,000 a month. But no company wants it. She came here not for the position of fund manager at all. How could she, a college student who had just graduated 2 years ago, have the ability to be a fund manager? The last time, it was entirely because the company wanted to keep the star fund, so she was asked to take the blame as a handyman. At this time, Li Yuan looked at her and stretched out his hand. "Welcome Manager Guo to join our company." "Ah. Yesterday I missed updating 1,000 words. I thought I would not be discovered, but then I was caught and did it. Today I updated 2,000 words. There is another chapter to be updated on time at 12 noon. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author, Lao He. Chapter 105. Guo Meng's resume is really poor. It was so bad that Li Yuan felt that the headhunting company was deliberately disgusting him. If the headhunting company doesn't admit this, it will always remain a mystery. In short, no matter what, Guo Meng should not appear on a fund manager recruitment list. Because the company had not yet been registered, Li Yuan could only draft a contract with the two of them. Then Li Yuan paid the introduction fee to the headhunting company, and the matter was over. The first meeting was briefly held in the tea house. "Manager Yu, I leave the company registration, site selection, and personnel recruitment issues to you. Do you have any good plans?" As soon as Li Yuan asked, Yu Yu said, "Mr. Li, do you want one with high efficiency or one with low efficiency?" How to say? Li Yuan is okay to open a studio, but he doesn't understand many things well when opening a large company. Yu Yu said, "If you are not in a hurry, then start from scratch, register the company, wait for the process to be completed, and then apply for the fund and wait for approval. It will take almost half a year." Li Yuan frowned. At first he thought it would be done in 2 or 3 months. Yu Yu seemed to see that Li Yuan was silent, so he continued, "There is another way, which can be done in a month and a half at most." How to say? We can acquire an existing fund company and take over all the other parties' qualifications, which can avoid a long review period for issuing funds. Li Yuan nodded. Then go directly to acquire one. You can find some relevant information for me to look at first. Then I will make the choice. Okay. Yu Yu wants to take up his post as soon as possible. Then Li Yuan looked at Guo Meng. "Manager Guo has no tasks during this period. Please take a rest first." "Good." Guo Meng agreed. Even now, she still feels very uneasy. It will be full of uncertainty for her until she officially joins the job. How can she qualify for an annual salary of 600,000 yuan? After the preliminary arrangements were made, numbers were exchanged, and Li Yuan came back. Guo Meng's situation is not uncommon in the financial circle. Either she has a strong background, has connections in the company, is directly promoted to the position of fund manager, and then fails. But in that case, you won't be expelled because someone endorses it. So there is only one other possibility left, and that is to take the blame. The market has not been good in the past few years, especially in the second half of 2015. There are many funds that have plummeted. However, some public funds rely entirely on a star fund to survive. If the star fund suffers a storm and cannot explain itself to the public, the entire company will be in dire straits. So at this time, it is necessary for Li Dadao to replace the star fund manager and find a newbie to take his place, and then let the newbie take all the blame. Finally, by inviting back the previous star fund managers with great fanfare, we can reassure the citizens to the maximum extent that they can continue to put money in their company. Guo Meng is undoubtedly the latter. This shows that Guo Meng has a strong psychological quality, takes such a big blame, and still has the courage to work in the financial circle. In this case, there is too much available value. Li Yuan personally operates the market, and it can only last until April next year at most. After that, the market will not be able to move at all. Public funds can only resist that period of decline, and they will definitely be scolded to the point of doubting their lives. The image of a stock god that Li Yuan created for himself cannot be shattered, so. Anyway, if Guo Meng takes one blame, he is taking the blame, and if he takes two blames, he is taking the blame. 600,000 a year, is it expensive? If it was intentional by the headhunting company, it could be considered a coincidence. He happened to need such a talent. Yu and Guo Meng are the kind of people who are unable to negotiate terms with the company. All they can get is their salary, plus a year-end bonus. The next few days went by very normally. Xu Yanlin basically sent him a message every 2 or 3 days, but he never responded. I shot my first short video for Gudong Sheng, introducing the presidential suite in a 5-star hotel in Zhangzhou, which cost 18,000 yuan a night. Li Yuan felt that the quality was not good enough, so he went to Shanghai to shoot the second video. Anyway, all the precautions that need to be explained have been explained. When the account where he made videos exceeded 1 million, the number of fans exploded again, with an increase of 80,000 followers in one day. It was the largest single-day increase in nearly 2 months. The title of the first brother in the real deal fell on him. After all, through the video, you can clearly see every operation he made, from more than 40,000 to 1 million. The market conditions during this period were not very good. At the same time, Li Yuan had been lying in wait for several days in Wulianjai and smashed in more than 60 million yuan. Today he was ready to take action. It has been falling for more than a month, and the stock price has dropped 19% from the highest point last month. This is already a very large space. This time it's not about attracting retail investors' money, but about institutional money. Don't look at it. There don't seem to be many transactions recently, only around 1 billion per day, which is still shrinking compared with before. But these are all done by institutions, and retail investors have long been put on the back burner. It is more useful for institutions to make transactions of 10 trillion yuan than for retail investors to make transactions of 30 trillion yuan, because brokers will get more money. Well, these methods are all learned from abroad. The domestic financial system basically followed the Western model in the past few years, but it has only begun to explore its own model in the past 2 years. As for finance majors, they have basically learned all the dregs of the West. So every time they carry the sedan chair for foreign investors and cut off domestic retail investors together. Fortunately, Our rules have many restrictions, otherwise retail investors would have died long ago. A shares must protect retail investors, otherwise the market will be a stagnant water. Moreover, the water storage capacity is currently insufficient, and new stocks must be continuously issued to increase the entire water storage capacity. Otherwise the bull market will not come. At present, the main thing is to use the property market to store water, and the stock market is still laying a foundation. The sudden elevation 2 years ago was actually a good thing, but the elevation 10 years ago almost destroyed the foundation of the reservoir. Li Yuan just wanted to discuss these people. Therefore, after the market opened, he immediately violently raised the price by 300 million. According to the idea of that group of institutions, they start to repeatedly brush up transactions at around a point underwater, and they will cut off retail investors if they can. If they can't, they won't suffer much loss. If a stock falls by 1 point and a fund falls by half a point, it is normal in everyone's opinion. But in fact, the data will become particularly outrageous before you know it. Special funds cannot outperform a handful of ETFs on the market. 300 million is not a lot in such a big market of more than 200 billion. But when it was released in just 2 minutes, it was still shocking. The trading volume that originally only took an hour now occurs in 2 minutes. A total of 6 points were given to Wu Yanjai. However, this was nothing. Li Yuan once again used 300 million funds to continue to pull up. All of a sudden, the funds inside were panicked. Because of some indescribable tacit understanding, the big funds inside want to make a fortune together. Now that they have finally opened up the space, they are going to start to slowly rise in a few days, 1 or 2 points a day, for a month or two, and slowly the upper space will be filled. But such a huge sum of money suddenly came out. Who dares to take 600 million at this time? If you say you don't know the tacit understanding, you won't believe it. Seeing that the market was just 1 point away from being closed, the funds stopped being loaded and started to enter the market one after another. But they are not really lifting the sedan, but they want to make it heavier. Time will tell them who did it today. After 12 o'clock at night, just stare at the net values of those funds. They want to pull back the market, then lure retail investors in, and finally break the daily limit, burying the first 600 million that rushed in. Now the retail investors inside are not active, and the retail investors outside are not very afraid to come in. The pull board is different. At the same time, Li Yuan had already put the tens of millions he had laid out a few days ago on the daily limit board, and began to contact his brokerage to raise some securities. Basically every brokerage will take some of this kind of blue chip white horse. This time was different from the last time 13 Tebeo. Li Yuan contacted the brokerage in advance and asked them to get it for him. They dare not neglect a big boss with an account close to 1 billion. Even if your own company doesn't have that much, it will go to other companies to borrow money. With the closure of Wu Yanjai, it attracted a lot of funds from the market. What the big funds inside have to do is send retail investors in. Because the position of today's daily limit is very subtle, retail investors who entered the market at a high level are still about 10 points away from unwinding, and they are definitely not willing to sell. The retail investors who entered the market during the recent downturn either seldom looked at stocks or ran away long ago, and very few actually stayed. So as long as they gather retail investors, they can give some of the chips to retail investors at a high position, and then directly smash the market. In the next period of time, those retail investors will be able to cut off the 600 million funds that entered the market early in the morning. Anyway, they cashed out a sum at a high position, and even if there were subsequent losses, they could minimize the losses. They believed that it was their own people who were responsible, so naturally they would not be polite. It's as if 2021 was originally a market where big funds gathered together, but a certain fund manager ran away early, causing the market to collapse. He made tens of billions for the fund and distributed tens of millions to himself. And finally, no matter which fund he joins, he will be smashed beyond recognition. Basically became a lost dog. They regarded Li Yuan as a traitor, and Li Yuan never thought of getting along well with them. So things become simple. They wanted to close the board, so Li Yuan threw his chips at the daily limit. All the bonds raised were given to them. Anyway, the stocks held in Li Yuan's account were enough to repay the securities to the brokerage tomorrow. Brokerages only want stocks and don't care about stock prices. Every 20 minutes, Li Yuan would spend tens of millions and stay still in the middle, giving them a chance to seal the deal. If they want to put their chips in the hands of retail investors, the only way they can do this is to remove the stool. It takes time to remove the stool, and retail investors' funds are queued at the back. They have to wait for 10 or 20 minutes until the funds are stacked up before they can be withdrawn. Otherwise, 4/5 of the closing funds will be gone at once, and retail investors will not dare to enter. Retail investors who play the market most like those with a lot of funds to close the market. If the funds to close the market are small, they may open the market at any time, and they will not chase it at all. It's just pure luck. At 11:30, Li Yuan's account had an extra 50 million yuan, earned today. The stock is no longer his. No matter what the trend is tomorrow, his profit today has been locked in and has nothing to do with him. But he was still watching the game. I want to see if those funds dare to spend money. At present, Wolyanjai is still trading at the daily limit, but the closing funds are only over 10 million, and they are probably all retail investors. No big orders were made because those big funds felt that more than 10 million was too little and couldn't afford it. After all, 1 point for so many families is really not even a sip of soup. After the market opened in the afternoon, some funds began to tentatively move out, and then opened the market directly. All the funds were lost. Damn it, the soup is gone before I even drink it. Suddenly, they were forced into a difficult position. The methods used in the past have collectively failed today. Li Yuan waited and waited until 2:30 in the afternoon. Wolyanjai has fallen to 6 points. This position happens to be Li Yuan's cost line of 600 million yuan. The data analysts of big funds are very powerful and their calculations are very accurate. Large public funds rarely go short, and securities lending is generally used by some private equity, hot money, and retail investors to lock in profits. Until the close, this position was almost unchanged. It means that those big funds don't want to pull in anymore. Then, a very strange scene occurred that night. The liquor sector rose 2 points today. But the net worth of some liquor funds is still green. When I opened it, I saw that each one was heavily stocked with Wolyanjai. Why are they still green? Are you all a bunch of pigs? In fact, they wanted to harm others at the daily limit, but were forced to take over a large amount of high-level chips. In the end, they failed to close the board, which meant they lost 4 points of their high capital. The scoldings came oncoming, and more funds were requested to be redeemed. Li Yuan was going to keep watching and do it again if he had the chance. Xu Yanlin was very honest during this period, waiting for her notice at home. Her mother was also waiting with her at home. Linlin, I saw that someone else's notice from Qingbei arrived 3 days ago. Our house is not biased. Why hasn't yours arrived yet? I'm not sure. You have also passed the admission score. It's really strange, your uncle even said that he would hold a banquet for you to enter college. Xu Yanlin's uncle is Anna Shen's father. Xu Yanlin was a little at a loss. At this moment, Xu Yanlin's father walked in from outside. He also held an EMS document bag in his hand. Her mother stood up immediately and said with a smile, "Is this a notice? You even dismantled it? I think the Qingbei notice is very impressive. Have you read it?" "Yeah, but I'm afraid you'll be disappointed." "What's wrong?" "It's not from Qingbei, it's from Zhangzhou University." "What? Xu Yanlin's mother's legs went weak. Opening the notice with trembling hands. When he saw the words Zhangzhou University inside, his hands trembled even more. When she looked at Xu Yanlin, there was even hatred in her eyes. We have trained you for so many years, and this is how you repay us. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 106. Congratulations to Sister Ran, you successfully obtained your driver's license. You passed all of them in one go, you are truly gifted. The moment Zhou Ran got his driver's license, Li Yuan gave him a bouquet of flowers. Zhou Ran looked at the bouquet of flowers and asked, "It seems that Zhoushan Media gave this to Mao's yesterday, right? To celebrate his breakthrough of 2 million fans." No, I took off the nameplate, and now it has another meaning. Haha, is this how you save money? Zhou Ran will always remember that Li Yuan bought a plate of citrus slices and passed them off in order to save money on birth control pills. It's time to save, it's time to spend money. Sister Ran can drive now that she has a driver's license. Which car do you like? I'll find someone to buy it for you. You spend money to buy it for me. Don't I still owe Sister Ran several hundred million? You are temporarily unwell and I have no chance to pay you back, so I will buy you a car first. Forget it, I don't have anywhere to use the car. After getting his driver's license, Zhou Ran was ready to leave. I've been looking for excuses these past few days. After returning home, she found that a familiar yet unfamiliar little girl had come to her home. When the little girl saw Zhou Ran, she ran over excitedly. Sister Ran. As a result, before he could rush over, he was stopped by Li Yuan. What do you do? If Zhou Ran was knocked down, Li Yuan would have to smash the girl's head. The little girl said, "Brother Yuan, can't I hug Sister Ran? Why are you so stingy?" Li Yuan said, "It's okay to hug her, but don't make so much noise. Sister Ran is tired from taking exams today. What if you accidentally knock her down?" He, no way. Zhou Ran had already identified the person in front of him at this time. The last time we met was 3 years ago. She had grown from a 14-year-old girl to what she is now. She had changed a lot. She asked Li Yuan, "Why did you call Xiaoqi here? Isn't she in school?" Before Li Yuan could speak, the little girl said, "Sister Ran, I stopped studying a long time ago and didn't pass the high school entrance examination." "Then how did you know I was here?" When Zhou Ran asked Xiaoqi, she looked at Li Yuan. She wasn't ready to meet her former friends, and she didn't come early or late, which happened to be the day she got her driver's license. Xiaoqi smiled and said, "Brother Hao is a famous person in our village. Who doesn't know him? Brother Hao told me." Zhou Ran. "I believe you." Lu Hao had already been told not to reveal the fact that she was still with Li Yuan. Besides, Lu Hao is no longer allowed to chat with anyone except calling home. "Since you're here, stay with me for a few days." Zhou Ran sat directly on the sofa. Li Yuan wanted to complain that when other girls met, they would go shopping hand in hand, but Zhou Ran didn't have such a habit at all. Gentleness and stuff like that are really in the genes. If you don't have it at birth, you probably won't have it in this life. "Then I'll let Mouse live outside tonight. I'll sleep in Mouse's room, Sister Ran will sleep in my room, and Xiaoqi will sleep in Sister Ran's room." Xiaoqi was confused. "I sleep with Sister Ran." Li Yuan said helplessly, "With Sister Ran's character, who can sleep with her?" If he hadn't noticed that Zhou Ran might leave, Li Yuan would not have let Xiaoqi come over. Xiaoqi can come over and help her keep an eye on Zhou Ran. After his company is completed and funds are cut, Zhou Ranran will have the confidence to face his family. Now she doesn't think the money is hers at all. In this way, Lu Hao became a victim again. During lunch, Zhou Ranran asks Xiaoqi many things. For example, what are you doing after dropping out of school and what are your plans next? Li Yuan didn't say anything. Zhou Ranran could do whatever she wanted. Even if she gives her own money to Xiaoqi, Li Yuan will not object. Her idol is Mr. Third, an old man who can be respected by everyone in the village even while holding a cane. Although it has not kept up with the times in recent years, it will be abandoned by the entire era in the future. However, this does not hinder the cohesion and wealth he has brought to the village in the past 30 years. The more she asked, the more it meant she missed home. In a sense, she is also a person abandoned by the times. People like Li Yuan, Lu Hao, and Gu Dongsheng don't have much sense of belonging to their hometown. If they could settle down in a big city, no one would want to stay in their hometown. Those old things will soon become worthless in this era. Many people realize this and are running away. Apart from the fact that my boyfriend is a straight man, the most common complaints online are about my parents being unreasonable. Zhou Ranran is embracing obsolescence. In the afternoon, Zhou Ranran accompanied Xiaoqi to buy some daily necessities. Li Yuan had been operating in Lu Hao's room, recording videos and editing. It wasn't until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon that he received a message from Xu Yanlin. Originally, he didn't want to go back, so he asked the girl to give up her thoughts completely and return to normal life. After all, if she doesn't return to normal, her family will be very uncomfortable. This message, however, is different. I can really call you senior. Then there is an accompanying picture. Zhangzhou University admission notice. He knew that Xu Yanlin's grades were very good, and Xu Yanlin had said she was very confident before. With a personality like hers, she wouldn't lie. You applied for Zhangzhou University. Aren't you afraid that your family will beat you? Soon, Xu Yanlin replied, Hey, I did very poorly in the college entrance examination this time, so I have no choice. Then why did you come to the School of Finance? The finance major at Zhangzhou University is very average. Other majors don't want me. I was transferred here. Xu Yanlin said it so naturally. But Li Yuan just won't believe it. You really did something wrong in this matter. You should listen to your parents' arrangements. Why? Because they are your parents, even if they trust you with things they can't do, even if they just want to use you as bragging rights. But if you succeed, they will be happy. But I want to be with my senior. What can love bring you? Happy. Lots and lots of happiness. Don't your parents bring you happiness? Bring you satisfaction? Your parents have been with you for 18 years. Do you think love is possible? After 18 years of love, both parties have long disliked each other to the point where they don't even want to look at each other. Just kiss. I won't be able to eat for 3 days. But do you think I will really like a girl who can ignore her parents' feelings for the sake of an outsider? You are just greedy for the novelty. When the novelty is over, what else will you have besides regrets? Just repeat the exam and take the exam next year. After Li Yuan said this, he knew that he had spoken seriously. Xu Yanlin didn't reply for half an hour. Where are you now? I'll go look for you. A few minutes later, Xu Yanlin responded, I am at the place where we first met. Wait, we'll be there in 5 minutes. Next to it is Crescent Lake, the water is very deep. Li Yuan hurried downstairs, drove to the door, stopped on the roadside, and rushed directly into the school. It was a hot day and within 2 minutes he was covered in sweat. After a while, he saw Xu Yanlin's figure under a willow tree. She was holding onto the stone pillars by the lake and looking into the lake. With her delicate profile, if she took a photo, no one would think that it was a hot summer day, but more like spring when flowers were blooming. When Li Yuan walked over, he quickly saw it. Just like before, his face showed joy. He smiled and shouted, "Senior is here. You are so familiar with Zhangzhou University. Don't you get tired of staying here for 4 more years in the future?" "No, what I've been exposed to before is just the outside. Only after I study here can I get in touch with the inside of this place. In this world, just look at the outside. Everyone is so busy, who will pay attention to the inside? Come on, I will take you back." "Oh." Xu Yanlin turned and left the lake. Li Yuan was following beside him. As they walked, Xu Yanlin spoke again, "Senior, my score is over 700. Do I have the best score among the freshmen of Zhangzhou University?" "Definitely. Even in the most popular provinces, people with more than 700 points will not apply for Zhangzhou University. For so many years, Zhangzhou University has basically received scores between 620 and 680, and has almost never passed the exam." 700. Xu Yanlin added, "Then can I speak on behalf of the freshmen at the opening ceremony?" "Huh? That should be it? Oh, then I will stop reading the manuscript and confess my love to the senior." Li Yuan was shocked all over. He quickly crossed Xu Yanlin and walked to her. He said very seriously, "I'm warning you, don't mess around, you know? If you dare to do that kind of thing, you will be finished from now on. Making trouble on that occasion? What's the use of having great grades? Make the school opening ceremony a joke. Then the school can make you a joke. This kind of bad influence will be directly recorded in the file. No one dares to be friends with such a bold and unruly person. No company dares to hire such a person. Senior, I'm serious too. Is there something wrong with your mind? Well, I won't stop until I catch up with the senior." Li Yuan smiled, but it was just a sneer. He grabbed Xu Yanlin's hand and said, okay, you want to chase me, right? Come and book a room with me. I'm a more realistic person. Once we book a room, I'll consider letting you be my girlfriend." "Okay." Xu Yanlin allowed Li Yuan to pull her away, and even actively cooperated. When she got into the car, she took the initiative to fasten her seat belt, but Li Yuan stopped driving. Because Li Yuan was a little scared. Xu Yanlin is really a bit scary. She does things without considering the consequences. Even more outrageous than what Gu Dongsheng did before. She came to Zhangzhou University with a score of over 700, and it can be said that she is a love brain. Still want to confess your love during the freshman ceremony? What kind of brain circuit can do this? This is not called love brain, this is called love brain cancer. Originally, I wanted to persuade Xu Yanlin to go back and restudy and choose again next year. Now he doesn't even expect Xu Yanlin to repeat her studies, as long as the brain cancer is cured. You really dare to book a room with me, don't you? Yes, didn't I already promise senior? When did you agree? When we met for the second time, I said that I would work as an engineer for my senior, and he agreed. Li Yuan. She knows everything about feelings. Since you knew it at that time, why did you agree? I didn't know it at that time. I found out after I checked it after I came back. So, I'm not a serious person. Do you have to sacrifice so much for someone like me? Don't you think your parents are right? Don't you think your cousin is right? Li Yuan didn't even have to think about it, Anna Shen and Xu Yanlin's parents wouldn't say anything good about him. At this time, he would rather be a villain. He was actually quite embarrassed about Xu Yanlin. He had always bullied her for being ignorant. Xu Yanlin shook her head, I don't think what they said is right. Every path they gave me, I don't think is a good direction. Then you chose such a bad path yourself? Do you know that compared with Qingbei University, Zhangzhou University starts much lower than Qingbei University? But other schools don't have you as a senior. I'm just a guy who got fired, I'm nothing. Li Yuan felt like he was running out of words. Because all Xu Yanlin said can be summed up in one sentence, you have been beaten by a monkey. I like you. Li Yuan didn't know where his charm could make a little girl like him to this extent. Could it be that after rebirth, there is still a system hidden in his body? Have you maxed out your charm points? But judging from those around me, this kind of situation has never happened before. When I was with Zhou Ranran, I was the only one who succeeded by being shameless. Sai, tell me the truth. What are you going to do so that you won't cause trouble at the freshman ceremony, or go back and repeat your studies? Li Yuan compromised. Xu Yanlin said seriously, I won't repeat my studies. I will definitely come to Zhangzhou University. If the senior agrees to date me, then I don't have to confess my feelings. I've always been soft and not hard, you should know that. Well, I have some soft ones that I can give to seniors. Ah. It's really tempting. I'll take you home first. You can contact me at any time these days. You must treat your life rationally. After saying that, Li Yuan drove away in the car. He knew that there was something wrong with every free lunch in the world. It either burns my mouth or is painful. Now I am reaping the consequences. I originally thought Xu Yanlin was stupid and was fooled by just a few words. Who knew she could be so clingy? The only thing she didn't do was cry, make trouble, and hang herself, but it wasn't far behind. After a while, the car drove to the gate of Xu Yanlin's community. Li Yuan unbuckled her seat belt and said, when you get home, go back and have a good chat with your parents. They are not the kind of stubborn people. They can definitely listen to your ideas. As long as you know your mistakes, you can change them, they will definitely forgive you. Xu Yanlin lowered her head and said oh and got out of the car. Watching Li Yuan drive away, she did not enter the community directly, but walked to a hotel not far from home. She packed her things last night and was kicked out. Returned to the room and sat on the edge of the bed. She murmured to herself, who made a mistake and was kicked out of the house? I wanted to accept their teachings, but they never gave me a chance. If she could explain it to her parents, she wouldn't be locked up in the bedroom at all. The destinies of people are not the same. Li Yuan asked her before if she was happy with her parents. She wanted to say she was unhappy. She is just a tool. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 107. Senior, will you block me? Of course not. Actually, I know you will. In fact, I didn't mean anything else when I applied for Zhangzhou University. I was just joking before. Don't worry, I will definitely not cause you any trouble. Oh, then I blocked him. Xu Yanlin looked at Li Yuan's reply and silently put the phone to her heart. He curled up his knees and buried his whole head inside. Her behavior today was really annoying and no different than a threat. Therefore, you deserve to be blacklisted. But if she didn't say it and was woken up by Li Yuan's scolding, she was afraid that she would really do that. It turns out that speaking up in advance is the right thing to do. After being scolded by Li Yuan, her mind became much clearer. It's just, I can't contact him again. I finally mustered up the courage to do something in my life, and I ended up doing it like this. Meow. Suddenly, a voice came from the side, bringing her depressed mood back to reality. Seeing Dabai in the cage next to him, he was obviously hungry. And she felt hungry too. She didn't bring much cat food at home, and she didn't have much money, so she never bought it. Now I have to buy cat food for Dabai. Dong dong dong. There was a sudden knock on the door, and Xu Yanlin immediately asked, who is it? Hello, take away. I don't. Xu Yanlin subconsciously wanted to answer, but suddenly realized something was wrong. He quickly ran to the door and opened the door to the room. Li Yuan stood there with some food in his hand. Xu Yanlin was stunned. "Senior, you." Li Yuan smiled and said, "I was kicked out of school recently, so I work part-time delivering takeaways. If someone orders something for you, you." Before Li Yuan finished speaking, Xu Yanlin rushed over. "Put your arms around his neck and hang on him. Fortunately there is a huge buffer." "What's going on?" "Tip. Hold head high. If I had known it was a tip like this, I should have bought you milk powder right after you were born. Hey, I'll give it to you from now on. Can you save a big one?" "Well, it's okay. Let's go and eat first." After a while, Li Yuan and Xu Yanlin started eating. The reason why he discovered this was that he was worried about Xu Yanlin and felt that Xu Yanlin had some extreme ideas. "So I didn't drive very far." After a while, he discovered that Xu Yanlin had not entered the community, and finally followed her to the hotel. "I registered my identity information at the door and found the room number." In theory, his first room opening record was contributed to Xu Yanlin. After eating for a while, Li Yuan asked, "Why did you live outside? Even if you quarrel with your family, it won't be like this." "Well, I'll go back in a few days." "How long will it be in a few days?" "Well, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow." "Well, let's do it the day after tomorrow. It happens to be Saturday. I'll help you carry your things." "Good." Li Yuan felt that Xu Yanlin's mood had become very stable again. This shows that within a few days, I can really delete her. As long as she reconciles with her parents and feels their love again, she can basically get rid of her dependence on herself. After staying for more than an hour and taking Xu Yanlin to buy cat food, he returned to his residence. It's already past 8 o'clock in the evening. When I got home, I found two beauties in the living room. I immediately shouted, "Tisk, who is this new beauty? Why haven't I seen her before?" Xiaoqi rolled her eyes and said, "Brother Yuan, your acting skills are too bad." This sentence was not recognized by Zhou Ranran next to him. Because she thinks Li Yuan is a very good actor, and his whole body is full of drama. Li Yuan sat on the sofa and was about to say something. Suddenly, Xiaoqi was like a cat, sniffing at him with his nose raised. "Brother Yuan, did you go out on a date with your girlfriend? Why didn't you bring her home?" Li Yuan quickly beat her away and said, "You are a dog." Xiaoqi chuckled, "I can't help it. I'm born with a good nose. When I was a kid, I couldn't hide the fruit hidden anywhere at home." Okay, I know you're awesome." When they were 4 or 5 years old, fruit was not a daily snack. The adults in the family were away from home, and almost all of them were taken care of by the elderly. On weekdays, when I buy some fruits, I hide them and eat them a little every day or two, so as not to take them out and be harmed by children. It's just that many fruits have their own ether scent, which can be emitted even if it's hidden in a cabinet or wrapped in several layers of clothes. Sometimes when I want to eat fruit, I have to rely on my nose. Zhou Ranran bought a set of clothes for Xiaoqi, and probably gave her a specially designed hairstyle, which immediately made the little girl look better. Xiaoqi's real name is Wang Qi. Her parents are not very good people. Her father is an old bastard, and her mother is not very good either. Because I only have a daughter, I feel I can't hold my head high in the village, and then I blame Xiaoqi for being a loser. Xiaoqi's ability to grow so big is definitely due to Zhou Ranran. On weekdays, Xiaoqi is closely guarded in the village. Xiaoqi was bullied that day. It was her bastard father who drank too much with some bastard friends. Those bastards were used to things and wanted to do something. Xiaoqi's father didn't stop him either. In the end, Xiaoqi's cry was heard by Zhou Ranran, who broke in with the bricks and knocked down the man who moved things. As long as Xiaoqi's parents had some conscience, things wouldn't have come to this point. Zhou Ranran looked at Li Yuan, who was leaning on the sofa, winked at Wang Qi, and said, "Give your brother a squeeze on his shoulders and let him give you some advice." When Wang Qi heard this, he quickly said, "Okay. Li Yuan, what's your idea?" She was looking for a job and couldn't find one. Oh. To put it bluntly, Zhou Ranran wanted Li Yuan to arrange a job for Wang Qi. But I was embarrassed to say it clearly, for fear of affecting Li Yuan's normal arrangements, so I kept it so vague. It can be regarded as leaving a way out for Li Yuan. Li Yuan thought for a while, but the fund company must not be able to do it. He would not let any acquaintance come in, maybe something would happen. However, there is nothing wrong with Joshin Media. There are not many powerful people in it, and it is all menial work. We media companies are collaborations between various groups and have little to do with the group. Anyway, Wang Qi is over 16 years old and can sign a labor contract normally. Then go and stay with your brother Hao for a few days tomorrow. As soon as Li Yuan finished speaking, Zhou Ranran frowned. What has happened to Mouse? Xiaoqi will still get married in the future. Just a few days. When Gu Dongshen's team comes back, let them bring Xiaoqi with them. They will definitely enjoy happiness there. Anyway, the team's expenses will be included in Gu Dongshen's contract. Sending one of his own people there can also help him keep an eye on the team over there, so as not to spend too much time outside all day long. Wang Qi asked, "Brother Yuan, what do you do?" "There's not much to do. I'm just responsible for buying lunch boxes, staying in a 5-star hotel, and eating good food. At most, when there's a shortage of people, you can help carry a bag or something." Is there such a good thing? Wang Qi was actually stunned for a long time. Because Li Yuan specially hired people to cook at noon and evening. Moreover, Sister Ran specially picked out expensive clothes for her. Just a few sets of clothes today are almost worth the total amount of money she spent on clothes in the past 3 years. How can I still treat you badly? Go to bed quickly. You have to get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and then call your brother Hao to pick you up. Li Yuan coaxed Wang Qi to the room, and after closing the door, he came to Zhou Ranran. "Sister Ran, why don't you reward one?" Zhou Ranran. This guy really doesn't want to suffer any loss. No wonder he insisted on asking the doctor whether it would affect the fetus during the examination at the hospital. Late. After all, she was the one who suggested it, and she didn't have the ability to arrange work for Wang Qi, nor could she afford the money. Then you can only. Li Yuan came over and said, "Sister Ran, I'm just about to open another company. You can bring in all your 7 aunts and 8 aunts. 3 poles in the sun." It was almost 9:30 when Li Yuan got up. After repaying the securities loan and clearing Zhongchen Electronics, the account funds were just 1.1 billion. After taking a look at Wulyanjai, I saw that the funds in it were not moving at all, so I gave up decisively. If there is action today, he can continue to enter and play. Playing in this position, he is not afraid of being trapped at all. Since he doesn't want to, he can only find something else. For example, the big blue chip Hikvision shares worth over RMB 300 billion. It can be said that Hikvision's stock price has skyrocketed this year. It went from 12 yuan to more than 39 yuan. The stock price is now 28 and has been consolidating for nearly 2 months. Li Yuan was not qualified to eat the biggest market in the previous wave, but he could still take a sip of soup in the subsequent small market. In this kind of stock, he does not need to have game thinking, he can just slowly invest 1.1 billion in funds. Nearly 2 billion yuan changes hands every day, and there are a lot of funds coming in and out. If you get 1 or 2 billion by yourself, it won't have much impact. Moreover, he now has a certain degree of correction ability, and he can even enter the venue in person and lead the rhythm. It's just that he's too tired, and he doesn't have much money. It would be bad if something goes wrong. Drinking soup with others is the most important thing. In the process of rising next month, 3 to 4 billion will change hands every day, and this amount of funds can be released at any time. Just 2 or 3 points of space will do. Before the morning work was over, a document was sent from UU. The basic information of the 3 companies is given above, allowing Li Yuan to choose, and he is responsible for contacting each other. Zincan Capital has a total scale of 1.6 billion, a complex equity structure, a 50% chance of premium, and a medium rating. Qingtian Capital, with a total scale of 300 million, has a simple equity structure and is in the liquidation stage. The disadvantage is that it has a single fund product and currently only retains one fund, with a 0 premium rate and low ratings. Dawning Capital, with a total scale of 1.8 billion, has a simple equity structure and rich fund products. However, due to insufficient product strength and bloated structure, the premium rate is 10% and the rating is excellent. UU may not be very capable, but based on this simple data report, Li Yuan felt that 1.6 million was well spent. You can see what you want at a glance. The final rating, although not necessarily adopted, is also an important reference. UU thinks Shugan Capital is good because they have rich products and even have a KDI fund, a fund that invests in foreign stocks, with a quota of $100 million. However, Shugan Capital did not have that much money, so naturally it did not use up the quota. KDI funds are difficult to get, especially for a company as small as Dawn Capital. This involves foreign exchange, and supervision is very strict, making it almost impossible for small companies to apply. However, 800 million was too much, and Li Yuan did not want to take over so many scattered funds. The company itself is not very valuable. What is valuable is the money in the products. After you buy them, you can charge management fees. The total scale is 1.8 billion, so it will cost at least 2 to 3 billion more before they will give it to you. The company itself can do it for tens to 100 million, even if the premium is not much. He continued to scroll down, and UU listed all the fund products of the 3 companies. Only Qingtian Capital had only one product left. Qingtian Mixed Small and Mid-Cap Index strengthened. Li Yuan looked at it for a while and then called UU. Manager Yu, make an appointment with Qingtian Capital and ask them how much they want. If it's less than 40 million, we can talk. If it exceeds 40 million, let's make an appointment with Dawn Capital. Okay, Mr. Li, do you have any other requests? Gone. Just because UU didn't ask any more questions, Li Yuan felt that 1.6 million was worth more. If everything goes well, the company may be up and running in a month. It is indeed much faster than the previous thinking. Li Yuan has never participated in the actual management and operation of a large company. The common thinking is to start everything from scratch, so he didn't think that way at the beginning. Until the afternoon close. He invested a total of 180 million in Hikvision. It's already pretty good, and I should be able to put all the funds in next week. The profit margin is definitely not that big, after all, you are eating other people's leftovers. It is definitely impossible to experience the feeling of brand new and unopened goods with second-hand goods, unless you are extremely talented. Song Jiajia sent over her results during this period. The main thing is to select some potential internet celebrities. As long as Li Yuan agrees, she can arrange for someone to go there or sign the contract in person. Li Yuan took a look and found that he had made a good selection this time. Several of the themes he had specially marked found corresponding people. For example, the twins are big and small. Although the traffic I eat is ugly and the videos I shoot are not correct, my fans are very sticky. They preach kneeling and licking doctrine everywhere, and how to treat women as dogs. As long as a woman says it, they must abide by it regardless of whether it is right or wrong. This is the core of their videos. but capital only looks at flow and liquidity. At present, they haven't started shooting related videos, and the camera movement and editing are still very rough. Li Yuan started to annotate on the form that it could be signed, and the signing fee started at tens of millions. Well, if you actually get it, it's only 30,000 to 100,000 per month. The contract must be large, and Li Yuan will clearly tell them in the contract where the tens of millions of funds have been spent. At the end, Li Yuan suddenly discovered that there was a separate form, which surprised him. Song Jiajia noted that she was a locally recruited anchor. This is also one of Li Yuan's development directions, and it requires only female anchors. The reason why he was surprised was because he saw Xu Yanlin's name. Although this name was not particularly rare, he did not believe that such a coincidence could happen. He took out his mobile phone and called Xu Yanlin. "Senior sister, remember not to sleep too late tomorrow. I will be there around 8 o'clock. Ah, senior, I have actually gone back. My parents helped me move my luggage, so. Are you sure you're going back?" "Well, I'm back." "Okay, then I won't go there tomorrow." Li Yuan hung up the phone. What Xu Yanlin said is very problematic. Whatever the reason, sign it. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 108. Recruiting female anchors is inevitable because this is the most basic monetization channel. The ability to attract money is really strong. They only need to set up a live broadcast room, give a monthly guarantee of 2,000 yuan, and receive dividends from participating gifts. They don't make much money in the early stage, but they can make a little bit when they meet the big brother. These are all businesses in the sinking market and cannot make a lot of money. Li Yuan doesn't care much about it, so it gives Song Jiajia some power. Otherwise, she, the unpaid general manager, would really become a handyman. After he sent the file to Song Jiajia, he made a note: "When Xu Yanlin starts broadcasting, give me her live broadcast room account." Song Jiajia, Jr., although that girl is very beautiful, as a company boss, you must have your own principles and bottom line. Well, I've learned my lesson. I just want to see if she is suitable for live streaming. Don't worry. Although she looks a little introverted, based on her figure and appearance, she will definitely be good. Okay, senior sister will take care of the arrangements. He is too lazy to expose Xu Yanlin's lies now. I would like to ask a person who has returned home, what kind of words do they use? Came back. Gone back. People will subconsciously integrate into the surrounding environment, and when chatting with others, they will also be involved involuntarily. When the conversation reaches home, if she is not at home, even if she wants to lie, her subconscious mind will say that she has gone back. If you are at home, you will bring the home environment with you, and it will become back. Of course, there are exceptions for some high-end green teas, and they will pay attention to these details. On Saturday afternoon, Li Yuan arrived at the company location of Qingtian capital. The entire company is about to close down, and even the security guards have probably been fired. Anyway, Li Yuan didn't see any floor security guards when he came in. In addition, because it was a Saturday, there was no one in the company, only the company boss Meng Jiangguo was here. Meng Jiangguo is a man in his 40s. He has a somewhat elegant temperament and is quite handsome. However, the black and white hair, paired with forehead wrinkles, looks a lot more haggard. The first time he saw Li Yuan, the other party was obviously a little surprised. He felt that Li Yuan was a bit too young. Li Yuan walked over with a smile on his face and stretched out his hand. "Senior Meng, I have admired him for a long time, and today I finally met him in person." Meng Jiangguo also graduated from Zhangzhou University. Li Yuan didn't know this information before, but before coming today, Yu had collected it and told him all about it. It can be said that the existence of such a relationship can at least reduce Meng Jiangguo's bottom line by 20%. Meng Jiangguo asked, could it be that Mr. Li also graduated from Zhangzhou University? Li Yuan nodded, that's right, I'm a student of Zhangzhou University and haven't graduated yet. Meng Jiangguo felt that the world was changing too fast. He never imagined that he would be talking to a student about a company acquisition. Mr. Li, please sit down. He made a gesture. After Li Yuan sat down, he sat down. Mr. Li. Senior, just call me Junior. I am also in the School of Finance. Many teachers have told you about you. You are a celebrity in our school. Meng Jiangguo was very ashamed. He didn't expect that someone would remember him for being so involved. He graduated 20 years ago, which happened to be the global financial crisis, and he made his first pot of gold in that crisis. Later, step by step, in 2006, his net worth tripled to nearly 400 million in assets, becoming a famous hot money at that time. During the subsequent stock market crash, he escaped with only a loss of 20% of his net worth, which was considered very lucky. But that incident also caused a change in his mentality. As hot money, the risk is too great. If you step on a trap, you may lose everything. He thought he didn't have the ability to make a comeback, so he founded Qingtian Capital. For so many years, he has not given up any shares and has been operating slowly and tepidly. With an annual capital of 3.5 billion, the management fee is almost nothing. At the end of 2014, it was considered the peak of Qingtian Capital, with the capital scale reaching 1 billion. That year was the first time that Qingtian Capital made money in so many years since its establishment. Made 60 million. He thought that his wife had finally become a mother-in-law, and good times were coming. Then he was beaten to pieces again. He avoided the wave at the end of 2007 because he was going back to his hometown to celebrate the new year. But during the wave in the second half of 2015, he declined at all. Public funds have requirements for holding positions, and even if they feel that the market situation is irreversible, there is no way to withdraw. We can only watch helplessly as Christians redeem themselves in large quantities, and the company once again enters a state of being unable to make ends meet. 10 years ago, it was worth more than 300 million, but now only one company is losing money. Worth up to 50 million. He plans to take 50 million back home for retirement. The financial industry is too deep for him to grasp. Meng Jiangguo said, Junior, I have read your offer. The 40 million is indeed sincere, but my bottom line is 45 million. He had a knife in his heart. Who asked Li Yuan to clarify the relationship between the two as soon as he opened his mouth? Li Yuan said, Senior, my junior has just started a business here, and the funds in hand are not very sufficient. 45 million is a bit over the budget. Li Yuan didn't bargain, he just played the emotional card. Sometimes the bottom line of emotional cards is much lower than the bottom line of business. Meng Jiangguo thought for a while. Instead of worrying about the price, he asked, Junior, can you tell me about your plan? If you can convince me, just give me 10 million, and I can continue to stay at Qingtian Capital for the remaining 35 million. Just take 5 points and 10 points of shares. Li Yuan immediately said, Senior, I'm afraid this is not good. I don't have much money, so you will be at a huge disadvantage. In fact, Li Yuan planned to invest more than 600 million yuan. Meng Jiangguo wanted to take away so many shares with tens of millions of shares, and he was definitely not willing to do so. But you can't say this. How much capital are you prepared to inject, Junior? Well, less than 200 million. Then what are your development plans, Junior? Not yet, just for practice. Hearing this, Meng Jiangguo sighed. Said, otherwise, it will still be 45 million, but I only need 40 million in cash, and for the remaining 5 million, I will buy the company's fund and will not make any redemptions within 3 years. Junior, how do you feel? Anyway, he wasn't prepared to ask for the 5 million. The main reason is that he is really unwilling to sell the company for 40 million. Of these 5 million, even if the blood is lost in 3 years, there will still be hundreds of thousands left in the end, just for psychological comfort. Li Yuan almost didn't think much before he stood up and shook hands with Meng Jiangguo. Make a deal. The process will definitely take a few days, and so far only the two bosses have reached an agreement. Li Yuan treated Meng Jiangguo to a meal because he was very satisfied with the price. 40 million itself is your own quotation, and it can be concluded at the quotation position. It is already a very good business transaction. During the meal, the two chatted a lot. The reason why Meng Jiangguo wants to sell the company is also very simple: to go home and be with his wife. For so many years, his wife has been taking care of her two children at home. After all, the children have been admitted to college. His wife is free. He also wants to take his wife to travel around in a relaxed manner, go shopping, and experience the few good times in life. Finally, Meng Jiangguo also chatted with Li Yuan about his life experience. The first pot of gold earned since graduation, from becoming famous during the 2006 bull market, to the embarrassing exit now. This life experience is simply a guiding light for Li Yuan. There are no permanent victors in this market, and there have been cases where billions or even tens of billions of hot money tycoons have lost their money overnight. To play a game with high returns, you have to bear the fact that the risks are also high. If Meng Jiangguo does not quit this year, he will definitely go bankrupt next year. On this day, Li Yuan set a principle for himself. If you can no longer make money in the capital market any year, you must decisively withdraw. But now, he wants to rush forward fiercely. There is no room for retreat in the life that has just been unpacked. The money in his hand is not enough to let him do whatever he wants. Until he said goodbye to Meng Jiangguo, Li Yuan didn't tell him the truth, which was that the school teacher never mentioned Meng Jiangguo at all, otherwise he wouldn't have known that Meng Jiangguo and he were alumni before he came. Anyway, just achieve the goal. Manager Yu, please connect with Qingtian Capital and let me know if you need anything. Okay, Mr. Li, do you want to change the name of the company? I won't change it, this name is pretty good. Anyway, it's much better than the names Li Yuan thought of. Moreover, the bad luck of this name has been almost consumed by Meng Jiangguo. If it is in his own hands, it should bring good luck, right? He is now in awe of metaphysics. After all, he is a metaphysic himself. In the next 2 days, Li Yuan contacted Xu Yanlin once. The girl said she was very happy at home. If he hadn't known that she would start live broadcasting on Tuesday, Li Yuan might not have believed it. He had already noticed that something was wrong. A little girl, Xu Yanlin, ran out. Her parents didn't care? Since you don't care, why were you so strict on her love affairs before? If you don't even care about personal safety, would you still care about falling in love? Unless, the matter of falling in love is a higher priority in her parents' hearts. No matter how you think about it, it's a little abnormal. On Tuesday morning, Li Yuan put his mobile phone aside while trading. He didn't log into his account, so he would search Xu Yanlin's live broadcast account every half hour to see if she was live broadcasting. According to the time obtained from Song Jiajia, Xu Yanlin will live broadcast from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Live broadcasting for 5 hours a day is equivalent to an hourly salary of 14 yuan. By accident, he waited until 10:20 before he had time to watch Xu Yanlin's live broadcast. After opening the live broadcast room, there was no surprise, it was me. Good looking, with a good figure, and the same name. Even without looking at other information, you can be 99% sure. There are 3 or 5 people in the live broadcast room. After all, the account that has just been launched does not have much weight and will not receive much traffic. There was a bit of beauty in the live broadcast, but Li Yuan felt that he didn't look as good as usual, because beauty always gives people a fake feeling. When you look at beautiful photos, you will subconsciously think that the other person must be uglier. Does the anchor have a boyfriend? Someone posted such a barrage. Xu Yanlin immediately said after seeing it, yes, he is one of my seniors, he. Li Yuan. If you have a boyfriend, you have a boyfriend. What are you doing? Sure enough, almost in the blink of an eye, there were only 2 people left in the live broadcast room. One is Xu Yanlin herself, and the other is probably Song Jiajia's account. Except for those guys who have special hobbies and like to poach, who wants to spend time and energy on a woman who has a boyfriend. Especially the scene where Xu Yanlin has sex, she looks more like a nymphomaniac. No matter how beautiful you are, there is no chance of getting it. That's how my husband's fans are, very realistic. But the female anchor earns money from her husband's fans. Immediately afterwards, Xu Yanlin seemed to have received some WeChat message, and then replied a few words. Song Jiajia probably sent it to her, and she didn't know what she sent, which made her feel a little depressed. However, we still insisted on live broadcasting, and people came in one after another. Every time someone asks the host if she has a boyfriend, she still says yes. At 11:30, Li Yuan closed the market, said something to Zhou Ranran, and drove to the vicinity of Jushan Media. It was exactly 12 o'clock when I arrived, and I waited for about half an hour before I saw Xu Yanlin walking out. He deliberately drove the car over, then lowered the window and asked Xu Yanlin, who was distracted, "Senior sister, why are you here?" Ah! Xu Yanlin was startled. Especially after seeing Li Yuan, his eyes became even more panicked. "I came out to go shopping." "Oh, it's too hot outside. Where do you want to go?" "I'll take you for a ride." "Well, thank you, senior. It's time for me to go home and eat." "Okay, I'll take you home." Li Yuan drove the car and rushed towards the school. They barely spoke on the way. Xu Yanlin was in a complicated mood and didn't know how to speak. Because she had just been told that she was not suitable for live broadcasting, today's trial broadcast failed. She failed to sign the contract and was only given 50 yuan for the trial broadcast fee. She has found other part-time jobs, but they only cost 700 or 800 a month. Those who can earn 1,000 or 2,000 are those with relatively good life skills, such as washing dishes and cleaning. She's not very good at. The place to live is very cheap, only 50 yuan a day, but she has to live there permanently. If she rents a house, she won't be able to afford a few thousand yuan in rent. There are also cat food, cat litter, cat grass, etc., which cost 300 to 400 yuan every month. Drowsily, she heard Li Yuan's voice. "At your door." "Ah. Oh, okay. Thank you, senior. Can I treat senior to dinner in 2 days?" "Okay, but I need a big meal." "Yeah, no problem. I'll go home first." Xu Yanlin unbuckled her seat belt, opened the car door and walked out. Until she entered the hotel lobby, she was suddenly stunned. Before that, she didn't notice any problem. When she turned back, she saw Li Yuan's car parked at the door. She hurriedly ran over and said, "Senior, you came here by mistake. I moved home a few days ago. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 109. It seems I remembered it wrong. Let's get in the car first. Xu Yanlin's acting skills can only be used over the phone. When Xu Yanlin got in the car, he immediately took her to the city center. "Senior, this is not the way home." "Well, let's eat first. I'll treat you to a big dinner today, and you can treat me back in 2 days." "Yeah, okay." Xu Yanlin agreed simply. After a familiar sign appeared, she began to panic. "Do you want to eat this at Chinji?" she asked quietly. Li Yuan parked the car and said, "Yes, where else can I eat?" "But in other places, she might be able to bite the bullet and still be able to afford the invitation. How could she possibly return the invitation here?" "Senior, I don't like seafood very much, can we go to another restaurant? Chenji doesn't only have seafood, other dishes are equally delicious." Li Yuan didn't give Xu Yanlin a chance to hesitate. After getting off the car, he opened the door and pulled her inside. At noon, there are really not many people in a restaurant with an average of 1 or 2,000 people. So there is no need to make a reservation in advance and you can find a spot directly. From the door to the dining table, Xu Yanlin showed some resistance. But after Li Yuan ordered the first dish, she completely compromised. When the food arrived and she took her first bite, she forgot all about it. She hadn't eaten properly for several days, and the delicious food made her temporarily abandon all thoughts. Li Yuan didn't say much during the whole process, and would wait until he finished eating. There are a lot of dishes to order today. Both of them were full, and there was half left. At this time, Li Yuan said, "You have to invite me here to eat in 2 days. The dishes will be exactly the same." Xu Yanlin nodded. "Anyway, I can't afford it, so I'll just die by then." Even if she asked her family for it, they would not give her so much money. "A meal costs 10,000 yuan. Then I'll pack up the remaining dishes and send you back." "Okay, thank you, senior." Xu Yanlin agreed. Li Yuan shook his head, "This girl has such a tough mouth. Didn't you even say a word of explanation?" She had made it so obvious, there was no reason why she couldn't see it. He drove Xu Yanlin to the community where her home was located, watched Xu Yanlin get off the car, and waved goodbye to him. Li Yuan shook his head and finally drove away. Xu Yanlin was watching from behind the gate of the community. After Li Yuan left for a long time, she breathed a sigh of relief. She also knew she should say something, but how could she say it? "Are you talking about your parents? Talk about the life that has been arranged for you since you were a child." She couldn't do anything about her parents in front of outsiders. "After all, I have lived smoothly until now, and my conditions are even better than those of most people. Talk about an arranged life? Asking for shelter?" She poured out her negative energy towards Li Yuan, which was unfair to Li Yuan. He has no obligation to bear these inexplicable pressures. Falling in love is not about asking for sympathy. If you don't hold your head high, he won't be very happy. Slowly walked back to the hotel where I was staying. Fortunately, I made 50 yuan today, which is enough to pay the room fee for another day. Returned to the room and opened the door. She was going to send Dabai to the cat cafe to work. "This way you can eat a lot for free." Just when he came in, he saw a person already beside Dabai, feeding him something. Xu Yanlin was so embarrassed that she was able to squeeze out 2 rooms and 1 living room. He leaned against the wall, not daring to step forward. After Li Yuan finished feeding, he turned around and said, "You have already gone back, so why did you leave Dabai here? If you don't want to raise him, I will take Dabai away." "No, I still raise." As soon as she finished speaking, she regretted it and quickly added, "Well, senior can just take it away. I can't support myself now." Li Yuan directly lifted the cage and said, "Okay, I'll take it away then." No unnecessary words were said. Xu Yanlin watched him leave. But when he walked to the door, Li Yuan turned around and said, Don't you really have nothing to say? I have nothing to say. Oh, that's okay. Just when he was about to turn around and leave again, Xu Yanlin shouted, Senior, can I be your girlfriend? What are the benefits of being my girlfriend? Well, then you won't be considered an outsider. Li Yuan glanced at the time and asked, being your boyfriend for 2 hours should be enough, right? Hey, that's enough. Xu Yanlin took the initiative to run over, took Li Yuan's arm, and walked into the room. When Li Yuan put down the cage, he asked, tell me, what's going on? Are you addicted to living here? That, he, was kicked out. Xu Yanlin said this with a smile. It's like she never cared about this. It was obviously a very sad thing, but she seemed so unconcerned. What's wrong? Your father has other illegitimate children. Huh? What does that mean? With a daughter like you, why should they chase her away? I don't want to repeat it. What's wrong with repeating it? If you don't repeat your studies, you can stay in college with your seniors for 3 years. If you repeat your studies, you can only stay for 2 years. Li Yuan. This reason is so impeccable. Listening to Xu Yanlin, even if you repeat your studies, you still need to apply for Zhangzhou University. What attracted you to me? Tell me. I'll change it. Anyway, I just like it. As long as the senior doesn't have a girlfriend, I will keep chasing him. I should eventually catch him, right? Xu Yanlin's expression was so innocent. I've known you for less than 2 months, and we've only met a handful of times. Why do you think I'm more trustworthy than your parents? Any normal person should be able to weigh the risks, right? Xu Yanlin said, but I feel that if you are with a senior, at most you will be dumped or scummed, or you may suddenly get pregnant and be forced to have an abortion. It doesn't matter, as long as the process is enjoyable. Li Yuan. Are these nothing? In your eyes, what counts as nothing? Shuttle, I'll put it into your hands and make you remember to be grateful. Xu Yanlin continued, also, the number of steps you take every day is arranged in advance. There are always people around you reminding you that this is a reward given to you by others. Also, the ultimate goal of going to school is not to learn how much knowledge, but to get in touch with whom, be their girlfriend, and marry. So I think, no matter how you are with your seniors, you should be more free and dignified, right? Li Yuan frowned and asked, did your parents arrange it? Xu Yanlin shook her head. How could her parents have that ability? She was originally a country girl, but suddenly she was taken to the city, and she couldn't keep up with anything. Courses, insights, and understanding of society. Especially one day the teacher asked her who the flying man was. He was in 5th grade at the time and couldn't answer the question. The teacher's surprise and the laughter of her classmates were like needles to her. She really didn't know who the flying man was, and she didn't have that many hobbies in her hometown. She had never thought that not knowing who the flying man was an unforgivable mistake. Now she knows that person's name is Lu Xiang. She even went to add a lot of knowledge. If anyone asked again, she would definitely be able to answer fluently. There are many similar things. The competition in the city has gone from being unfit at the beginning to overtaking it all the way now. This year's college entrance examination results rank 6th in the province. At that time, she didn't know that the gears of her destiny had begun to turn. She originally took everything around her for granted. Others are very kind to her and her family, and she must learn to be grateful. After all, Anna Shen was similar to her. But since meeting Li Yuan, she found that many things were different. Someone opened a hole in the wall surrounding her heart, and she saw the life of people outside the city. When he looked back, he found that everyone around him was opening his mouth. She had not come into contact with many people. She only met people in Anna Shen's circle once during the summer vacation when she was 15. Those people were even more terrifying. They were obviously young, but their mouths were full of blood, as if they had eaten people. Is it Shen Tianfu? Li Yuan could probably guess it. The main reason is Anna Shen. Anna Shen was raised to such a standard that she was a condescending goddess in front of insignificant people, and an extremely beautiful and obedient girl in front of the same class circle. The personality contrast is extremely obvious. Li Yuan felt it most clearly, because he had let Anna Shen break his defense several times. There were too many reversals, and Anna Shen herself became confused, unable to find her position, jumping up and down like a clown. He thought again of what Gu Dongsheng said at the beginning. Those outrageous words should not come from a 19-year-old student. In fact, isn't Gu Dongsheng just like Shen Tianfu? No matter what bullshit studies, even if there is even a little hope of being with a rich woman, he will fight for it. Because he knows that no matter how well he has completed his studies, he is still not a genius. What he did not have when he was born, he will never have again in this life. It's like a eunuch who suddenly said, I want to chase the highest step by step, I want to become Zhao Gao. It's just that Gu Dongsheng said it but didn't do it well, so it was considered a bad move. Shen Tianfu didn't say it, he just kept doing it. When he succeeds, he will naturally become a hero and no one will laugh at him. Even if he fails, there will be people who will feel sorry for him and find reasons for him, saying it was just bad luck. Isn't Shen Tianfu's behavior crazy enough? Many wealthy families will try their best to let their offspring be as free and happy as possible. At most, they will ask for more to make their children better. But what does Shen Tianfu want from his daughter? Enter the business class circle and enter the entertainment industry. For the sake of personality, throw away your own personality. If background is not enough, fame will be used to make it up. She even felt that Anna Shen was not safe on her own, so she brought her niece in. Anna Shen did pretty well in her previous life, but in this life, there is a high probability that there is no chance. Ever since Anna Shen broke through the defense for the first time, her mentality has changed. Last time at the fish farm, Anna Shen was actually a little confused. Xu Yanlin didn't speak, probably acquiescing. Li Yuan said, don't pay attention to Shen Tianfu. He is just a lunatic. You don't owe him anything. If your parents think you owe him anything, it's your parents' business. Since you have been admitted to Zhangzhou University, come and study. This will make Shen Tianfu and your parents completely give up. If they jam your ID card or something, then go directly to the school leaders or call the police. Her ID card was indeed stuck, including the notice. All hotel stays use student status cards. Also, don't stay in this hotel. I'll rent a house for you in the afternoon. I'll make sure you have a place to live before school starts. You won't be hungry. Xu Yanlin asked in a low voice, Senior, are you trying to support me? Li Yuan said angrily, what are you thinking about all day long? Keeping accounts, trying to get a scholarship to pay back when you go to college. Well, if I can't afford it, can I pledge myself to you? Okay. Hee, then I might. Don't worry, just based on the rubbish Shen Tianfu put into your mind, if I can get together with you, I have to kill him first. What the hell is this Shen Tianfu? Zhao Gao wanted to climb to the top step by step, so he cut off his own things and killed his rivals. Gu Dongsheng was also ready to sacrifice his studies. Shen Tianfu doesn't want to be a dog, so he trains the people around him to be tool men. If you have the ability, you should start off as a dog and eventually eat up the owner. Xu Yanlin immediately said, then, it's better to say goodbye. What? Do you still recognize him as your uncle? Xu Yanlin waved her hands hurriedly, no, I'm afraid something will happen to the senior. Compared to other things, I hope the senior can live a good life. Li Yuan asked deliberately, you don't want to fall in love with me? Xu Yanlin lowered her head, her chin almost touching her chest. If we have to kill him before we can talk, then. What if I didn't chop it with my own hands? Someone else did it and it has nothing to do with me. Xu Yanlin suddenly raised her head, obviously seeing her smile, and then nodded fiercely. Yeah, okay. Okay, you rest here for a while, I'll go out and find a house for you, and come over later to move things with you. After Li Yuan was reborn, he rarely took the initiative to spend money on others. For example, he never gave Zhou Ranran a penny. But who knew that Xu Yanlin's bad fate was caused by him? Let's wrap things up first. Senior, we will be friends in another hour and a half. Xu Yanlin suddenly said something. What's the meaning? Well, 1.5 hours should be enough, right? Li Yuan. Grass. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 110. Xu Yanlin said it very seriously. Li Yuan smiled and said, save it and save the remaining hour and a half for when you want to start it. Is this still possible? Life is a game. It will have whatever abilities you want to give it. But this is what you gave me, not me. At least you can choose to agree or disagree, right? No one can decide the rules of your life. If you think the rules set by others are good for you, keep them. If they don't suit you, throw them away. Xu Yanlin. Does that mean, if I set a life rule for my senior to like me, he might agree to it, right? Yeah, but the love brain is not suitable for playing this game. Li Yuan left after finishing speaking. After getting in the car, he also thought about it. Is it possible to take advantage of Xu Yanlin's ignorance and trick her into becoming his wife? But it was ultimately rejected. For things like relationships, it's best for two mature people to be together. If they can choose to be together after clearly understanding each other's shortcomings, then there will be very few conflicts. He could also use his tricks to make Xu Yanlin stick to him like a little girl forever, but that kind of life would be too tiring. You still have to arrange your life for her, and you also have to formulate strategies for yourself. If two people's lives become one life, the accidents that arise are uncontrollable. To put it bluntly, he doesn't want to be responsible for too many feelings now, because he hasn't lived a good life yet. Li Yuan found Song Jiajia and found an apartment from her. In order to sign a contract with a female anchor, Song Jiajia had already prepared several sets. The monthly rent is not expensive, basically around 1,500 yuan, and female anchors can move in at any time. After getting the key, Li Yuan came back to pick up Xu Yanlin. Anyway, she didn't have much luggage, just one suitcase. After moving to the apartment, Li Yuan took out 2,000 yuan and an IOU at the same time. Sign, the rent will be counted as 1,050 for you, I will give you 2,000 yuan in cash, and WeChat will transfer another 500 to you. Collect 4,000. According to bank lending standards, I will charge you 5 points of interest every year and pay me back 4,862 in 4 years. 1 month later, there are only a few days until school starts. As long as Xu Yanlin can enroll, it is estimated that the school will waive all her tuition fees and even give her a bonus of several thousand yuan. If Zhangzhou University was not 985, but just an ordinary undergraduate, and it recruited students like Xu Yanlin, it would be possible to receive tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of rewards. Xu Yanlin was not too unfamiliar with this place, because the room where she broadcast live was in this building, and the decoration and layout of that room was almost exactly the same as this room. Little girl, pink color. Oh. She silently signed her name. Li Yuan accepted the IOU and then said, live here well and come to me anytime if you need anything. Of course, it's best not to come to me. Do you understand? Yeah, I know. After sending Li Yuan away, Xu Yanlin immediately returned to the house and lay on the bed with a smile on her lips. After a while, the phone rang. She picked it up and saw that it was a message from Anna Shen. During this time, Anna Shen went to Beijing to film a movie, so she didn't know much about things at home. Linlin, are you with Li Yuan? Yes. Is it because of him that you secretly applied for Zhangzhou University? You are making things difficult for the family. You had a better future, but now you have ruined it with your own hands. I have no regrets. Li Yuan can't give you the life you want. Do you want to settle for mediocrity your whole life? Cousin, I feel like you have a bad taste in looking at people. At least now, he can give me the life I want. This is the life I want. What's your life like now? I have a place to live and more than 2,000 yuan, which is enough for me to spend until school starts. More than 2,000 yuan? Is it a lot of money? If you apply for Qingbei honestly, let alone 2,000, even if it is 20,000 or 200,000, my dad will give it to you. But that requires remembering gratitude. Now I just need to write an IOU with a clear price tag. What is the price of gratitude? And I wrote an IOU. Is that money for you to spend? Yes, giving goes both ways. I can't give him anything now, so it's normal to write an IOU, right? I will transfer 10,000 yuan to you and return all the money I took from him. Go home and prepare to repeat your studies. If you need money in the future, you can always ask me for it. Hey, I can't go back, I'm already his. Xu Yanlin. You are completely finished, do you know? You made the stupidest decision in the world, you will definitely regret it. Anna Shen sent 3 messages in a row, because after seeing Xu Yanlin's words, she was completely confused. She knew very well that her father's expectations for Xu Yanlin were even higher than her own. The reason is that she failed to pass the Qingbei examination. For ordinary people, Qingbei is a step away from ordinary people. For people of a certain class themselves, Qingbei is the best opportunity to reach the 3rd level in a row, and there is no limit to the level. The same school has different results for different people. Facing Anna Shen's hysterical words, Xu Yanlin didn't care at all. Cousin, over the years, I know you have really thought about me, but that path is really not the one I want to take. What's wrong with this road? There are flowers, applause, admiration, and awe. What can you get by following Li Yuan? If you find a boyfriend, he will be 10 times and 100 times better than him, and he will earn thousands of dollars. Do you want the guy who wrote the IOU to suffer hardship for the rest of his life? Cousin, his honey is your arsenic. The longer Xu Yanlin and Li Yuan stayed together, the more they became addicted to this feeling. At home, it was always others telling her what to do. But Li Yuan is completely different. He will always tell himself to follow his own ideas, and he will always give himself room to regret. Even if you choose the wrong path, you can regret it and choose again. She didn't believe that anyone in the world would be so patient with her. She also didn't believe that there would be anyone in the world who would guide her life like this. Others are most likely just here to pick peaches. Regardless of whether they are delicious or not, as long as they are big, good-looking, and look tempting, they will pick them and take a bite. If it doesn't taste good, throw it away. If it tastes good, eat a few more bites. In the end, everything will be turned into garbage. They will only remember the most delicious bites. Once it doesn't taste good, they will start to dislike it. Unless you can make the seeds germinate again and continue to produce such delicious peaches, who would have the patience to keep looking forward to them? Do you expect others to be grateful to you for giving them a bite of the most delicious peach? They are even far behind their own parents. After all, their parents still fertilize every day, waiting for them to grow up and sell them at a good price, giving them generous returns. After someone else pays for it, they will naturally think that all their rights belong to him. Li Yuan is different. He had several opportunities to pick peaches, but in the end he never did it. Because he knows that although the peach is delicious, the seeds inside are not yet fully mature. After eating this peach in the future, the seeds will most likely not germinate. He is willing to be patient and guide this fresh peach to slowly mature its own seeds. What do you mean, everyone in the world is wrong? How many people in the world are not running for fame and fortune? Most of those who have given up fame and fortune are not qualified to run for fame and fortune, such as Li Yuan. Anna Shen dismissed Xu Yanlin's idea. Xu Yanlin did not reply. As she said at the beginning, she felt that Anna Shen had a really poor taste in looking at people. A person who can't even take advantage of her, even if he is ordinary now, does he still need to ask for other people's consent for what he wants to pursue? She really doesn't know much about the ways of the world. But she scored more than 700 points in the college entrance examination, and she still majored in science. Just because of Li Yuan's indifference, no matter what he faced and how he controlled his thinking every time, he would not be worse than himself. Even Shen Tianfu felt that he was excellent, and Shen Anna felt that he was not as good as him. Why do you look down on Li Yuan at this time? Li Yuan is obviously much better than me. Fame and fortune are double-edged swords. If you are blinded by fame and wealth, you will not be able to see the true nature of things. Xu Yanlin never wavered, she firmly believed that her choice would not be wrong. The only flaw she has found in Li Yuan so far is that he doesn't love himself enough. The next day, Xu Yanlin encountered a lot of questions. Especially when my own parents called me and yelled at me, or even insulted me. Shen Tianfu didn't call, but his emotional output was completely handled by Xu Yanlin's father. After that, her family no longer cared about her life or death. Her parents had been urging her to go back and repeat her studies every day before, but she never showed up again. Before she knew it, she had been living here for half a month. She did not take the initiative to contact Li Yuan and truly experienced a lonely life. Loneliness can make people grow. The archived hour and a half of love time is currently her most precious thing. It's already early August, and it's not long before registration. Now she just wants to get her ID card and notice back. And if you want to do this, you must go home. She gathered her emotions, and after half a month, she had the courage to face this matter. Li Yuan looked at Qingtian capital's new territory with a relaxed expression. This half-month is considered the busiest period. It took almost 10 days to complete the equity handover with Meng Jiangguo. The good thing is that I am getting better and better at doing these things, and the recruitment progress is also very good. All 20 people initially recruited have been recruited. At present, Qingtian Capital only has one fund product and does not require too many manpower. If the fund company had not set minimum requirements, Li Yuan would have only planned to recruit 2 or 3 traders. Yu held a document in his hand and said, "Mr. Li, the net value of the fund has all returned to zero. However, during this period, the original capital of more than 200 million has suffered a large number of redemptions, and now only 130 million is left. It's normal, just do it this way, there is no shortage of funds." Li Yuan knew very well that those who did not redeem must have bought the fund and did not look at it at all. He is already quite satisfied with more than 100 million left. Yu continued to ask, "Do we need to issue other fund products?" "Don't worry. Even if it is launched now, it will have to rely on brokerage promotion. If you don't make a penny, you will have to pay tens of millions in advertising fees. It is better to build this fund first. Once it becomes popular, other things will follow." It just fell into place. Li Yuan wants to do a good job in the company. He always thought that Li Yuan was some rich second generation who wanted to have fun. After all, who in the right mind would choose to acquire Qingtian Capital? Who in the right mind would hire 20 crooked melons and cracked jujubes? He was not referring to their appearance, but to the resumes of those people. Most of them are fresh graduates from university, and they are paid the minimum wage in the industry. I hired a few people with good qualifications, but they were all parallel imports, and it was obvious that they were here to mess around. Well, he himself is also a parallel importer. Apart from doing things within the rules, he has no other abilities. What Mr. Lee said is, when will we officially open the subscription channel? The people in the company are all idle and want to find some work as soon as possible. Otherwise, what if you don't get your salary? 5 more days. 5 days later, the account funds he used to make videos exceeded 10 million. The current funding is a little over 7 million and the number of fans is 2.4 million. His upward momentum has not weakened during this period, which shows that fans are very sticky and are preparing to witness his real offer exceeding 10 million. Okay, I've written it down. Does Mr. Lee have any other instructions? Go talk to the brokerage and I want to reduce the fee. Mr. Lee, this was the first time that you did not agree directly. The contract rate between Qingtian Capital and brokers is 1,000, which is medium in the entire industry. If it continues to drop, it will be reduced to 10,000 yuan. With this rate, our company is small, so how can any brokerage be willing to deal with it? From now on, I will keep the news about my company tightly under wraps. How can anyone subscribe to the hair-raising fund or something in the future? Li Yuan had no choice but because the rate was too high. It is impossible for him to keep his funds stationary for a long time, even if he trades frequently every day. Even if there is only 1 billion in funds and 1 transaction per day, the stamp duty and handling fee per day will be 4 million. If the stamp duty cannot be changed, then the only option is to start with the handling fee. Then let's talk about Wanba. Li Yuan shook his head. 5,000. If you don't give it to us, we will change the brokerage. Yu felt his scalp numb. 5,000? Where is the broker willing to give it? Let yourself negotiate for such a low handling fee. Why don't you take the lead in negotiating? Mr. Lee, this is true. The Zhangzhou securities we cooperated with before seems to have a minimum of 10,000 yuan. If it's any lower, the brokerage's work will be in vain, and no one will be willing to do it. Although the contract numbers can be written casually, it will be fine even if something happens. After all, many retail investors can get it just in case, or even get 50% off. Go and talk first. If you can't negotiate, go to a small broker. There will always be a broker who can agree. Okay, I'll try to contact you right away. Yu finally compromised. The resources in the hands of small securities firms are simply incomparable to those of large securities firms. On the one hand, Li Yuan said that he wanted to become bigger and stronger, but on the other hand, he began to cut off his own hands and feet. He had never experienced such a contradictory decision in his life.